Great continuation. To the mama chief. Hey y'all, what's up? Come on up in here. Even on that journey, that love grows how the garden be. The first to teach us when we sick, the first to heal us. Mama's boy, yeah, you know I'm crying joy. Soul food, yeah, hey OG. Great to see you, love. How you doing? I'm just gonna get in where I fit in. Woo. It's a great day. Oh yeah, it is. Y'all be safe out there in my territory. Come on now. I hope y'all enjoy yourself at the pool party and all that great stuff. Go by and see the chief though while y'all here. Oh yeah. Chief Seco. Go handle some business while y'all having fun. Woo. What? Great day in the city. Yeah. Now be quiet, let the mama speak. Yeah, I'm play my song. Much love back at UNC and baby girl. Oh yeah, you know it. Shout out to the mama chief. Yeah, you be quiet, but big mama speak. What's it flows through my arteries. Okay. Journey that love grows how the garden be. The first to teach us when we sick, the first to heal us. Mama's boy, yeah, you know I'm crying joy. Soul food, yeah, you know I'm an enjoy. Calm you down just by the sound of a voice. There isn't another feeling inside. When it's here, you won't let you game. And you feeling the pride. You and your siblings fighting. She gon' make you put the feelings aside. She can lead you down the road, but she can I get this on my video show? Look in my eyes. I need a side of ice cream with my belt pie. You know for sure for mama teeth, you know I'm a ride. Cause we all generations, I'm motivation. I just wanna thank you for my creation. Cause we all love a mama chiefs. Yeah, we all need a mama chiefs. Yeah, we all rap for mama chief. Dedication, I seen your tears at my graduation. Now look like the boy that made this. You're the reason I'm one of the greatest. Yeah, cause we all need a mama chiefs. Yeah, we all love a mama chiefs. Yeah, we all rap for mama chief. Now be quiet, let the mama speak. Y'all still vote? You think your vote count? What? Your vote don't count. They just taking your temperature. They want to see where you at. What? What? You still a nigga? You still black? You still all that shit they call you. What? Yeah, this for y'all when you come in. I'm on one today. What? Don't get in where I get in, y'all. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about the white man Bob. I'm gonna talk about the shit niggas don't want to talk about. What? What's the solution? Man, party like it's 1999. What? My people, my people. I don't know who they is though. Come on, Dave. Come on, where my folks at? Come on, y'all. I shared it out to y'all. Come on. I know y'all over there with some that said. Come on up in here. What tomorrow your story. What's gonna happen? Thank you for coming over, Philly. Just to show your face in this place is an awesome thing. Thank you. Yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah. Hey. Know it. Yeah, I'm up in here on my own stuff. So yeah.
Attention, everyone on Medicare. Nope.
Nope. Ain't gonna hear that. Why am we still here? Why am we still here? Okay, I guess I gotta go back here for it. Come on up. I'm gonna give y'all about 10 minutes to come see if everybody come up in here. I'm gonna go with what I'm going with. I don't care. Don't nobody come. I ain't here for popularity. I'm here to put this out here. Legacy, legacy. I'm putting my words out here in these streets. That's all I know. Just by the sound of a voice, there isn't another feeling inside. When they cheer, you won't let you game, and you feeling the pride. You and your siblings fighting, she gon' make you put the feelings aside. She can lead you down the road, but she can give you the guide. Where you think I get that blissful look in my eyes? I need a side of ice cream and then my apple pie. You know for so for Mama Chief, you know I'm a ride. Cause we all need a Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all love a Mama Chiefs. The greatness, the patience, the foundation, the knowledge passed down so many generations. Our motivation. I just want to thank you for my creation. Cause we all love a Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all need a Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all rap for Mama Chief. Dedication. I seen the tears at my graduation. Now look why you would have made it. You the reason I'm one of the greatest. Yeah, cause we all need a Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all love a Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all rap for Mama Chief. Now be quiet, let Big Mama speak. We still here, y'all. We still here, y'all. But they don't know we still here, y'all. Cause y'all ain't making no noise. Y'all ain't doing nothing but having fun. Y'all better get your business right. What? Keep the American when you say Aborigine and make their world in. Going in the same dirt my ancestors buried in. Yeah. Come from a god and a goddess, so what that make me? Not even Basquiat can trace me. Not even Van Gogh can paint me. The MC in me is the God MC. Equals the God in me. I focus in, let my mind be free. You too blind to see. The Jews I give Israel, it's been real. These ain't shots, they missiles. All you gonna hear is the whistle. Lyrically, this the execution. My verses start revolutions. For my people seeking restitution. Since the beginning, fuck evolution. Or maybe my reality is all a dream. I put it together like I was so it seems, so it seems. This is that audio, dopamine. You're against the machine. We put you where nobody can hear you scream. And singing to meet your Elohim. My nigga, this is savage mode. It's something that you hate to go. They started with a spark and I'ma let it explode. I was given the cheat codes that'll let me dump and reload. And go through them waves like a fucking torpedo. You dealt the cards of life. I just cut them diamonds with the ace of spades. Y'all scatter like roaches when they facing raid. Or vampires when they facing blade. I'm trying to get next to charade like I'm getting played. You still stuck as a
mental slave. You still stuck in that mental cage. While I'm making easy money, dipping holes in style. This my coming to age. Crowd warm when I'm coming on stage. And when I'm done, they gonna be cheering my name. Drink cops and nah, I ain't quit my day job. I spit bars. I really rap on my day off. That's real shit. Just give you some tools you can build with. Aim high even if you still miss. Just keep going. It's a climb to the top. And I'ma keep flowing. Down Lake Shore, I'm Chicago going. Yeah. You niggas playing checkers, we playing chess. And nigga, this is checkmate. Drake be the big dog, and you just a little bait. You out of Africa, and we ain't got the same traits. I'm a Ghanaian, and we ain't got the same fate. My granny died February 18th, and I was born on the same day. The chosen one, the ancestors' chosen son. They gave me the golden gun. One shot, that's a hole in one. From the pyramid of the sun, the poverty point. I don't think you niggas is getting the point. We still here. Who said they made the Aboriginals disappear? Your information's lacking in the real.
Up in here yet? That's what's up.
We copper colored with we'll be
Put
here.
this started in.
Clear,
What I got?
fuck the nonsense.
Oh, I'm already
Rap
10
such
minutes
a
in.
consciousness.
Okay.
From within is when you get your self-confidence. Let's bring it back to dominance. Ain't no confining us. Bring that wild Indian out of us. Yeah. Yeah. We still here.
Still here. Okay, y'all, what's going on? Let's go. What's that? I'm gonna break your heart. No, I won't break nobody's heart, Dre. Let's see. Let's see what I'm doing here. Maybe I need to stop sharing and then redo it. Yeah, I'm gonna share some stuff and I'm gonna talk about some stuff that's on me mind. Yeah, I don't care how many people up in here today. Let's see. We're gonna listen to some Steve Copeland.
Blacks and the Jewish people aspired to be up there. Brother Marcus. Brother Omar.
Thank you so much, Phyllis, for coming by.
Gravy lemony.
Can you hear it?
Yes, it's acting like we just got here together.
Is it coming through
Many
here?
people will see the tape
Lily,
and the
please.
videotape. Wonder why everybody was so lightly greeting each other. It's because we have been talking for a while. And we have now
yeah.
forward.
Okay, you still
to have
doing
a
it, Philly?
discussion about
I'm
the
surprised.
black
Thank you, dog.
secret society known as Sigma Pi Phi, acronym the Boule, B-O-U-L-E. We will do our best to
like it when he's playing on the TV better, though. I think it's loud.
That's what this lecture is about. I could give the entire lecture and quote every inch of the documentation without looking at it. I know them that well. But this is my responsibility, my night to show you the information so that you can look at it with me and double affirm the fact that much of our black press, as much as we like it, has not been honest in talking about this group of black men who they respected very highly and never speak negatively against it. We also know that we've had many black people who've been a member of it and have never, ever broken the code or the creed and spoken to one who was a non-member. Though they pledge and swear.
Let me stop right there. When I first saw this, it made me think about the fact that all of these so-called secret societies that we have been amongst us on American soil has one thing in common, and that's a secret. The secret that dropped in my spirit when I decided to do this today was the butt breaking of the men. And the secret is that the men can be both fucked excuse me, and do the fucking. This is the secret, that they can both have children and wives and still be. Ooh-wee. I hate to even think it, but this is the big secret of all of these Greek fraternities. Are y'all with me here? I see it's for y'all in the chat, but I'm going to say this again because you just got here. The secret, the big secret is the butt breaking of the men, and to take the men where they can be had and they can have. They can have wives and children and still be had, y'all. This is the biggest secret of the world. And it's all within the Greek culture. This is something they brought here. This is something they implemented here. This is something they took control of. And the mad scientists even created some beings to make communities. Now we got communities of these different people who done had their penises cut off. They done had their penises cut off in order to be a woman, that they still can't use the tools that they had put on them. It's a sad day in America, y'all. Because if it had not been for Trump really getting in the place where he got in and said, no, y'all ain't gonna keep doing this to the children, we still have that concept going on. That's why everybody mad. Because they was flipping genders. They was literally flipping the genders of our children. And me, myself, like I said, I'm not a voter, but I was having my energy directed in the right place, that I know somebody got to get in here to do the right thing. But at the same time, they is not going to do nothing for you if you don't make them. If you don't have a plan to go and speak for yourself, ain't nobody up there look like you. Ain't nobody in that man. Everybody ever since last Tuesday. It's been a whole fucking week. That's all niggas can talk about. That's all I hear. But ain't nobody got a plan. All they can do is be happy or dissatisfied or talk about what he got going on. But what he got going on ain't got nothing to do with neither one of us. Y'all didn't see nothing in there about y'all. But y'all think y'all the Americans. Y'all think y'all is the only Americans. But I got documents when these crackers came here, or whoever they was, when they came here, they called themselves these Americans that y'all call yourselves. Because see, most people look like me, they got identity crisis because they don't know who the fuck they is. I'm just sorry. I need to stop. They don't know who they is. And that's the real problem. Because they black folk, they Negroes, they African Americans. Some of them say they elbows. What the fuck is an elbow? Excuse me, that word is bad in my mouth this morning. And I'm going to calm down because my children are going to see this one day, I hope. My great-grandbabies. So I do this for them. Because I don't want them to be this confused. Though the world got a lot of confusion going on. People don't know who they are. They don't know what they are. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They're doing stuff opposite to their own character. They're doing stuff opposite to culture. We ain't been in this game in a long time. But most people think they vote count. They just checking your temperature. They just want to know where you at. They just want to know where you at. How you think. If you still in their game, you still on their game board. That's all they want. Let's go.
That their goal is to represent you.
The secret.
You will have a hard time believing it when they don't even seek to let you know that they who helped
Shout
you.
out to Sharon. Shout out to Oh,
And so,
shout out to the two that's
in July
in the
17th,
bushes. Shout out to
1990,
y'all.
July 18th, 1990, the Los Angeles Times did a front page story on the left column
Very good, Sharon. To do it,
about
put it
the
on
elite
TV.
fraternity of black men. Excuse me, brother. I saw that one get away. I'm just
I mean
saying
that.
myself. This elite
Oh,
fraternity of
y'all.
black men
Shout out to the elder. He gone. He tried to tell us. But he was a bootleg too. Let's
as
be
being
clear.
influential,
He was
as
bootleg. That's
being
why he knows.
somewhat like Skull and Bones at Yale. And as it said these
Did you
things,
hear
I
it?
was
Okay,
little in
Steve.
awe as the others, brothers in African Minds United and the Coalition Against Black Exploitation, as we all were intrigued by the fact that this group of men could have been in existence and we not know about them. And even other brothers and sisters. I remember talking to a brother who had been National Executive Secretary of Sigma, Phi Beta Sigma, been in fraternity land 37 years, had heard nothing of the Boule ever, though its founder had been a member. And so, as we began to talk about it with other people around the country, we began to realize that people didn't know about it. How you doing, Bro Warren? And not knowing that people didn't know about it, we just assumed that it was incidental, that everybody must know something about it, and that it was not mysterious or connected to all of those other things we had previously been talking about, like Cecil Rhodes and Baron de Rothschild and all the Halls of Haters, the ADL and the Diamond Jewish Connection. We've been talking about the Trilateral Commission, who is responsible for this economic summit that you'll be seeing on TV the next 3-4 days. You need to know that. Anybody? Carl Rowan came on the radio right here in LA. And my friends jumped him because we jumping them in every city. And when they jumped him, he said the Trilateral Commission ain't done nothing. But the Trilateral Commission went to the president and had him set up the annual economic summit starting in '76, France. So when you listen to how your destiny of your country, they say, rides on that meeting, you wonder how Rowan could make such an allegation, but knowing as a boule in Washington, D.C. Epsilon chapter, his goal is to never speak of the high, white, and mighty whom the boule, all 3,300, are sworn to protect. Yes, these brothers that we are pushing up against the wall have taken a sworn oath that they will never expose the whites that they know actually run the world. They, in ambition and in deference to liberation and respect of the race, have agreed to maintain the status quo.
What we talking about? The real Jews or the real white folks? We're going to figure it out, y'all. That's why we're here.
Of white supremacy, which has two levels of white supremacy, a local, limited, parochial side, the Ku Klux Klan, the Reardons, the Kenny Hans, the local clans, but has a powerful, more mighty upper crust, which probably would include Occidental Petroleum and Arco and Exxon and Mobil Oil and the Rockefeller Foundation and other influential, wealthy families and institutions. So what we're talking about is, why haven't you heard of those people who are in the secret society? It's because the people who you look to, who you would most suspect would tell you, have sworn that they never will. And because of that, that leaves the sub-leadership, the other group of people that you like a lot, that leaves them to tell you, the heads of the various organizations as you know them. But if you listen to them, they have never said of these black men, for that they did not know. Which means that Malcolm, we know, knew of these men. We know Marcus Garvey knew of these men because their crowning, most outstanding achievement was the physical elimination and castigation of Marcus Garvey and the insistence and the climate setting that brought about the death of Malcolm X. For both of those men, international in perspective and insight were a threat to the very whites that they're sworn to protect. You don't get killed for any other reason than jeopardizing the whites of the whites that run the world. Martin King, who was a boule, met the bullet, not for the civil rights thing, but for the international war thing that got 2 Kennedy boys killed also. So we're looking at a group of men who have protected murderers. So what is the crime of this boule? As we allege, as many of them say, why do you step to my doorstep and accuse me of these things, of which I know not? But their so-called limited understanding is in fact defiance and woven into the oath that they swear that they will never even act like they know who these people really are. We have challenged these people on the radio, TV, in the street, on numerous occasions. Kurt Smoke, the mayor of Baltimore, Jesse Jackson, the head of the Rainbow Coalition, Cecil Murray, all the way down the line. These people that we have challenged have never been able to stand up and honestly turn around and say the truth to the matter. And we understand that. So our job is to come to you with the information so that you can make up your mind. There are several affirmations about this process that we must agree to. A Greek is a fraud. A Greek is a fraud. Now, there are a lot of people going to hear this all over the country, and they want to know, do you understand that a Greek is a fraud? So I want you to holler out if you think that a Greek is a fraud. A Greek is a fraud. Oh, let me try that one more time. You might not be ready because this is going to go to people all over the country. And they want to know, do you believe this? Because if you believe this, this comes to a certain conclusion that will produce other action, which you have affirmed. Is a Greek a fraud? A Greek is a fraud. Did the Greeks steal from Kemet? Yes. Okay. If the Greeks stole from Kemet and a Greek is a fraud, what then is the fate of those who have perpetrated the Greek in spite of the fact? Somebody finally caught on. Everybody hollered fraud. Okay, that's the crime, right? Somebody else gave a sentence. The suggestion is clear that the ebony 100 most influential ought to be -9. It ought to be the top 91. Because the 9 Greeks ought to back out while there's still time. I'm making a suggestion to the Greek connection, even to those in the room. You might be just an alpha or a sigma, or a zeta, or an AKA. You might just be a little Greek. That's right. But you're a Greek nevertheless. And soon you're gonna see, because when someone tell me they're gonna back up or move on the boule, the first move you're gonna see on every telephone pole in LA is the Greek thing is dead. That's the first move you're gonna see. And all the Greeks, the alpha, the kappa, the omega, and the sigma, show you right. The AKA, the zeta, the sigma, gamma, rho, and the delta. They will all be informed publicly. Please do not have a public manifestation of the Greek thing. Don't have a big dinner. Don't have a big reception. Don't put it in the paper that you're coming. Because I suggest to you that we're going to start to visit you at your things. That's right. And ask you to prove your Greek thing on the spot. In the back row will be the cameramen, because everyone's going to need to see your faces when we show up. We might dress up like a Greek and act a little Greek so you could get a reflection of yourself. I said clearly, if you remember JFK, they was running around playing Roman. All right. So we make a suggestion that we're in the process of penetrating a group of circles, and that these circles are webs, which are numerous organizations. Just beyond the boule. You see, we have done it right here in this room. We have asked members of Greek fraternities to show the handshake to the others in the audience. And on every single occasion, they have refused. And that goes to show that even though we may be in their best interests, there is a bridge that will separate us, which cannot be tolerated when we're under attack. We did the lecture Africa 93. We showed that the white man is pushing colonialism without hesitation, and he's saying it publicly and openly. And under those circumstances, deviation can't be tolerated. So some of you who have asked, what can you do, will be asked, can you go to the big white hotels where the Greeks give the other Greeks their money? Can you go down there with me on the night, Friday night, when they got the big dinner? See if we can get some answers for this Greek thing. Hold up some pictures of Greek and ask them which one is their daddy. Or hold some pictures of some fallen Cometians or Kebalans or Azanians and ask, do you support the ones that did this? We must confront our people, for it is our people that have tolerated the jam that we're in, and these people are at the top of our people as a guarantee from white people. Yes, the whites guarantee the boule prosperity and notoriety. I'm telling you, we done put a lot of pressure on these people, turned a lot of them into flat tires. I saw one of the tires blown up last week in the LA Times, trying to put air back in a tire we flattened for supporting the boule. Check. Check. This is the founder of the boule, Henry Minton. If this was color, you'd see he's light, almost white. Because in the early aspects of the organization, there was a lot of that. Henry Minton is the founder and so-called pioneering spirit. Brother was kind, knowing I needed a point of the organization Sigma Pi Phi. The head man of the organization is called the Grand Sire Archon. A-R-C-H-O-N is what a member is called after they have been inducted. They're an Archon. He was the Grand Poobah from 1908 to 1909. Then became Grand Sire Archon Emeritus. The Grand Sire Archon is the head of the national boule. The head of the local boule is called Sire Archon. So the head of the LA chapter is Sire Archon. A member in any boule is called just Archon. So if Archon is a member, Sire Archon is the local head, Grand Sire Archon is the only head, the titular head. The Grand Sire Archon and those other top positions of the boule have absolute and supreme authority over every boule chapter, which are called subordinate chapters. Every subordinate chapter of the boule is compelled to respond to the wishes of the Grand Sire Archon and the executive committee. This is a discussion about what Minton was thinking about in 1904 when he wanted to set up the organization. This is from the history of Sigma Pi Phi. That's the history book of the organization, the history of Sigma Pi Phi. It's written by an alpha named Charles Wesley.
Turn up the volume a little, please. Sis. Okay. Okay, sis, I'm gonna put it on the TV because I think it'll be better on the TV.
Yes, okay, he did write it, yes.
Let's see. In
summary, Minton wanted to create an organization
I just messed up. So let me do this. I'm gonna put it on the TV because it's louder. I can make it loud as I want it on the TV.
Do you want to see how much money you're eligible for? If you were in a car crash within the last 2 years, that was not your fault. You could have money.
Hold on a minute. Shit.
The truth is,
Anybody
insurance companies make the claims process as
on
difficult as possible, so you get frustrated and make the first deal they offer. Many people settle for a $5,000 check.
All right, I'm gonna put it on the TV because of the fact that it is too low to me too. I like have to scream over it. Okay, let's see, where were we?
Skate being the pariah of Europe.
Y'all, I had to look at some of it to see, make sure I was gonna share it with y'all because I didn't want to.
So it becomes a fact that we're going to start in certain sorts of ways of pushing out the deviations a little bit more aggressively. I have decided, as some of the things we'll hear in the next couple of days as I play things back for you, is that we're not going to take any longer the disrespect that we receive from our own community, who instead of congratulates us for service, identifies us as troublemakers. I told you about being here and speaking at AME Church, there for the Black Men's Group, and having 80 black men there, put about $400 in the hat, and having somebody hand me 120 of that,
in the chat,
and that's all I deserve, and taking the rest and throwing it back in the church with the other $4 million that he gets a year. But the only point is that's all right. They can.
I hope I came about where we were, y'all. I didn't even look at the number, but y'all see that this is about secrets. And as I said earlier, the big secret to me is the fact of what they was doing to each other. And it was always about the men on men and women on women. But Steve always keep bringing up this white man, right? The white man. The white man. Who is this white man he keep talking about, right? So then we're going to go into this white man Bible a little later on in the day, y'all, okay? Because I think the white man Bible, I think that white supremacist probably could shed some light on some things. What y'all say? So we're going to do that. But we're going to listen to a little of this. I might speed it up, move it around a little bit. But we need to find out who our real enemy is while we playing these games. And I noticed some niggas around on these elbows. That's what they calling themselves these days. I ain't got no ruckers that call me no elbow. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry about that shit. I ain't got no ruckers that call me no elbow. So, but some of these niggas, they calling themselves elbows, done had these babies by these white gals, and they mad about it. They mad anytime you say something about the white people, the so-called white people. That's what they call themselves, and that's what they call us, black people. But I'm neither of that, none of that. So, but what's the moral to your story? What is the moral of your existence? Let's go.
Do those things when the word doesn't go out that you don't hit back, and that's the suggestion that we're not going to allow. And we're going to hear a report from some brothers about the demonstration that went down today at the ADL, of which there were no displays of that on public television. I didn't see it on any news. I watched all the stations in preparation for coming here.
They let Africans call them that. They let other
Africa
people call
is under
them
attack, and we're going to be talking about that in a lecture called Africa 93. Sister Jane, in your spare time, could you check and see if next Tuesday, a week from tonight, and next Friday, a week from Friday night, are available dates at the Good Life, so that I can tell them about the other lectures that are coming up, which I'm going to touch on now. In the Africa 1993 update, where we're going to look at Africa under attack, I'm going to play for you Jesse Jackson speaking at Trans-Africa, where he calls for the G7 to have a meeting in Africa in the context of never explaining G7 to his community. And the G7, of course, is an offshoot of the International Economic Summits, which, of course, are a direct offshoot of the Trilateral Commission. And we're going to talk a little bit about that up during that time, as well as about that Shaft in Africa meeting. Now, what the Shaft in Africa meeting has showed me beyond a doubt, on Saturday, and there's a brother here in this room who did some outstanding research. And really, his research was persistence. He heard someone on the radio mention that certain information was available for free. It was the brochure, as well as the sponsoring private group that set up the second annual African American Summit in Gabon, Africa. And on Saturday at the AMU meeting, the brother brought forth the documentation.
Yeah, I don't know whether y'all can see that or not, but over there in the corner, there's something say, touch not the cat. I wonder what the hell that means. But a glove. Touch not the cat. Touch not the cat, but a glove? What the heck does that mean? This is a secret, y'all. Remember now, we're looking at secret societies. And everything that we look at is about a secret. Like up on the top, they got a lady. They got a face of a lady, a pale skin at that, no doubt. And got wings, but it got the body of a cat or a tiger or an animal or something, right? Then they got another one down there say the smiling human. Then they got another one over there say Virginia. They are always tyrants. So these are some of the things that go along with this secret society, Boule, Divine Nine, cat with the 9 lives. Oh, okay, Kel. The cat with 9 lives. That's why they say touch not the cat, but the glove. I got to Google that. Enemy Public, what's up, Brother Nasir? Thank you for stopping in with me. What's the moral to your story? This is what I'm about solutions. And since you just got here, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about why I'm doing what I'm doing today. It's because everybody is all about fun. Nobody's about solution. Nobody's about being in place to do the things that need to be done. We have been out of place for over 400 years, from what I can understand. Really 200, in the realness. But we're not in place. And all I see is everybody doing videos on the election and what it means, and really don't mean a damn thing to people if they know that they are really the indigenous Indians of this land. I'm not an Abo. I'm not an Abo. I'm not none of that bull crap. So these people are very confused because they don't know who they are. They don't have no real nationality, and they don't have no real sense of who they are. They still are fighting with Africans. They're still fighting with Crockers. They're still fighting with people because some have made their life to sleep with the enemy, and now they're mad with everybody else because they can point it out. But the secret of the matter is that there is a people that is in control, and it ain't hard to see when you open your eyes and look. It ain't hard to even feel this shit if you're in this world. So for people who will walk around deaf, dumb, and blind and acting like they still don't see what's going on, that's why I'm doing this video here today, because it's about the white man Bible. We're going to get into it. We're going to see how the white man thinks and what he thinks about what has been going on in this place. As long as it's been happening to us, he says it's been happening to him. So that's why I'm doing this video, because there's a lot of secrets in this divine, in this Greek fraternity. There's a lot of secrets, and it dropped in my spirit. The secret is to never tell that a man can be had and he can have. And here we go.
And I want to tell you for a fact, when I stood here and told you about Shaft in Africa, it was worse than that. What this brother has shown with the brochure, you'll see the brochure, open it up, Mobile Oil, Chevron, RJR Nabisco, Gillette, Coca-Cola, IBM. Every single page in the brochure of the African American Summit had white corporate leaders, full-page
Great minds think alike, bro. We gotta get this out of here. These niggas don't want, they want to play.
15 pages of theirs and 2 pages for the brothers, which had the itinerary.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Elder Steve Cope. He was a boule, but he told
what the brother showed.
He told before he left. Not to appreciate.
And I hope to do this lecture a week from tonight. It'll be a week from tonight. Africa 93. And we'll look at Mandela, Winnie Mandela, the settlement of the government, the PAC, what's going on all in Africa, the attempts to recolonize Africa.
See, these new babies don't know nothing about this. These new babies, these newly, the ones that voted this term, they were just trying to see how many of them, they're trying to check the temperature. How many people still think that they're voting when they're not part of the corporation, really? They're just financing the corporation through their trust.
There's a whole spot full of African stuff going on now, and you're at your weakest moment in assisting Africa based upon not only lack of resources, but deprivation of information. And then they have brought in the want some more leadership cadre to supplant your African attempt with the white problem on their back for solution time. See, you could bring Mobile oil to Africa. If you didn't know that Mobile, all the time they was doing anti-apartheid stuff, was the largest corporation from America in South Africa was Mobile Oil. You never heard about that because Rockefeller took his money and gave it to his agent, Randall Robinson. And he went out and led an anti-Royal Dutch Shell boycott, which you did hear about, didn't you? But you didn't hear about Mobile. And Royal Dutch Shell is headquarters in the Netherlands. Attack someone you can't reach, but protect the one who is the one who is hidden by paying other people to misdirect the real attack system. See, we don't get confused about the attack. We don't know sometimes when you're being given something, you're being attacked. It might be that that weakens your resistance to further attack. It could be money. In the church, attacks are usually led about rumor. In the church, a rumor is a powerful commodity, much more powerful than fact, because you've got speculation science. So in that arena, fact is not an argument. Rumor, speculation, the pastor sleeping with Billy Joe mama, can ruin a man instantaneously. In politics, it might be a different type of ingredient. But the knowledge of it is that every mode of leadership has a vein of attack. And so in the religious community, it may be innuendo and rumor. In the political community, you saw Congressman Harold Ford just come out of a court case. You got Austin Hastings just coming out of a court case, having been attacked by another member of the own Black Caucus, John Conyers, who for years has had the impression of being a socially conscious congressman. But he led the attack on Austin Hastings. To find him guilty, in a court case before the House, which in fact duplicated a legal court case, which was kicked out by a judge. The only point of it is that when the white man didn't beat him, they sent the black man to block him. And that's important because that's the left-right combination. We be up on that. There's another man named Gus Savage who was attacked for many reasons. One of them, myself. Any of you who have that ADL report on bigotry will see that one of the reasons he was attacked in the article was for giving support to Steve Copeland. And you can imagine a man representing as many people as a congressman does having to be attacked for supporting a constituent who supports his community. He was attacked also for his support of the Nation of Islam. Again, an institution within his own community. And that only revolves around that many of the attacks that we'll see, if this comes out, this is a little light article. Let's see here. Well, we can tighten this up. Looks like it fell a little bit. Is this affecting something? I hear something. Yes, let me see if I can just get it up back there. I don't know. Make some tape up there. All right. Might need more than that tape, but might need to stick it down. Right, you off?
Yeah. Stand up there.
Let's see. Can you make it up there, brother? Okay, and let me see something. I might have to bring it down. Let me see something. I'll read you the date off the actual copy. Friday, August something. Talking about the attack on Gus Savage. It says that the person who was used against Gus Savage was Ron Brown, head of the Democratic National Committee at that time. Of course, we know him as Boule Brown. In fact, Gus Savage said his name really is Ron Beige. Like that's my fingers on the word beige. He said his name is Ron Beige. But Gus is a good brother, and it'd be good to get Gus out here to speak, to tell you about the Congress. So Gus was one of the few congressmen who consistently voted against Jewish issues. In the caucus, when there were 22 or 24 members, it would be 1 to 23 every time. And then Augustus Hawkins, right before he started to go, started voting against the Jewish vote. He was 84 and felt he ought to at least do it before he died. There's a name right down here that's mentioned in the Gus Savage attack here. And actually, I guess that makes it even harder to see. And the name is can you make it without the light? The name is right here at the bottom. It's called Ram Emanuel. He's a Jewish guy. And he led the attack for the Democratic Party against Gus Savage, of which they ran a Rhodes Scholar named Mel Reynolds against him. And he chaired Mel Reynolds' committee. This is about this guy hooking with Mel Reynolds to chair his committee for Richard Daley to lead the fight against Gus Savage. But it says Emmanuel is Emmanuel. You need to remember the name because he's the chief political advisor to President Clinton now. Said that he also led the attack on somebody you might remember, a congressman named Paul Finley. In the book, They Dare Speak Out, you'll see a profile of this young white boy. Oh yeah, thanks, this is the point. Crowd pleaser. Moment beater. This is his name here.
Now y'all up in this chat.
Got his
Thank you so much.
Paul Finley, who was being thrown out of office for meeting with the PLO. And so
You just looked up Randall Ross.
what I'm going to show, what I'm saying by showing this,
I love you, sis. You be on it. Drop something in the chat. Tell us about it.
Sometimes could lead to promotion for the opposition. So in other words, sometimes they may be impartial about the attack. I will kill off Yahweh ben Yahweh if I can. I don't even know what he's up to, but if you'll promote me for doing it. Now the crowd that may ask you to do it may in fact have the precise motivations for wanting it done. His religious beliefs are too strong for us. His economic development program is too successful for us. But the person who may be the person to do it may have no other loyalty to the issue other than the guarantee of something, which means strategy. We have to beat down the amount of gain one can secure for crossing the servitude squad. In other words, we have to diminish the ability of the opposition to reward for attack. Because without reward, there are few psychologically motivated friends of the enemy. Meaning that he gets most of his followers for loyalty based upon might and persuasion of money and force, not because of belief. And you know, I so believe in you, I'm gonna go do this for you, because they all get paid. They never do it for free. And they have to pay their believers. You got camera shooting bullets. So, everything all right? So we must, in stopping the attack, beat down the reward system. So if Sanders is told, if you support Win, we'll reward you, you have to be able to diminish the reward system. Now, it's not, again, the analogy is not fair because Wu was not an alternative. Wu spied on me right here in this room as chairman of the Human Relations Commission. Right here, when I first came here. In fact, they were here spying the day we did the fundraiser for the Sisters of South Central, when we raised $400 for the sister. Right here, we had a little fundraising here on a Sunday afternoon. And they were here, we had an argument right outside there by the phone over them coming to spot the meeting out. Now, we have felt, let me see here. That the attack on the political leadership, you go through Bradley, Dinkins, Good, Wilder, Washington, etc., you will find that it is not difficult to box in a black mayor whose responsibilities compel him to supervise white things. And because of that, the utilities, phone, electric, gas, light, municipal finance are beyond the leverage capability of a black man to offset them. They continuously find themselves in unfortunate positions. And we can easily see, right? You can see this, white police officers.
Y'all know me. I love to share and share other people's information, but I don't like to just share the whole video, so I'm going to skip on along some. Y'all go back, like and share his video and get the whole message that this brother brought through, because it's very powerful for those who don't know and for those who do. Okay, so we're going to skip up just a little bit. Let me see him.
Man, weakness. And so, to go get a posse. Now, this is
this white man
touring exhibit. This is going city to city. A museum. This is a museum exhibit. For the whole 1/5 of the book is anti-Steve Coakley. The rest of it is history about how they attacked and defeated Marcus Garvey, about black-Jewish relationships, about sneaking black-Jewish relationships, about the NAACP, the Urban League, and Jewish control, etc., etc., etc. The only real current attack in the book is the Copley portion. So I ain't gonna sleep it. And then not beat the ones I see standing around it. Like Julius Chambers, Director, Council, National Association of the Advancement of Colored People's Legal Defense and Education Fund. Mayor David Dinkins.
These niggas that they had, what you call it, gatekeeping. These are what you call the gatekeeping niggas, right?
Edelman, Dorothy Height, Ben Hooks, Vernon Jordan,
Vernon Jordan. Yeah, I know that now.
Eleanor Holmes Norton, Eddie Williams of the Joint Center for Political Studies, Percy Sutton, who twice denied me the right to be on his radio station from the Apollo Theater, all in the middle of the black community. Couldn't have Steve Copley on his radio show, LIB, with Gary Bird, because Mayor Dinkins called Sutton, and Sutton called the program director, and I was canceled for being too anti-white. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm sure some of you all got up. Y'all probably fall asleep before the night is over because you've been up early. Tell them, bro, what they say.
Maybe next week.
You see that? Maybe next week. At the All Black Stevie Wonder Station. That says now they do. First they said they could do it on a Tuesday. Then they said, oh, he's still here. Well, we'll make it a week. They're supposed to leave next Monday, right? So they said we'll make it next Tuesday. So today I changed my plane tickets to the next Tuesday. So, because we value the opportunity, and since that made the best excuse for me not being on, Sister and I paid $50 this morning at 7 a.m., waiting on the line to change their plane tickets at our own expense to get the right to go on to get some more abuse thrown at us. So that's why we're going to have more lectures here, is because we're going to suck up this excuse, because we got to have the Stevie Wonder, are you with us or not? Come on. Sheet of paper. Now, I know, what did they talk about today? Nothing. Huh? Alcoholism. Knowing the alcoholics just went to bed. You know long enough at 5 ain't drinking no whiskey, right? So you got zero population base.
That's good.
Hey, another big move for the station. So we're gonna see what becomes of Brother Copley's opportunity. Now it's interesting that I mentioned the black press just for an example. I want to show you something, just a deviation. The attack on the real community has been contained by the little opportunity we have to hear about it from our own press. You know, I was thinking about it. When we did the story about the Boule, when the first story of the Boule came out, which is that one, which appeared in the LA Times. Uh-oh. Did I get you still in? When that first story came out, that was July 18th, 1990, which we looked at right here. This is the first story about Sigma Pi Phi. That meant to us that the LA Times already knew about the Boule. We didn't, but they already knew. And that was important because the Boule, as I'm going to show you, was primarily responsible for attacking Marcus Garvey, but what protected their attack was that the whites refused to write about the attack. See, they like to play up black-on-black crime.
Yeah.
But not white-inspired black-on-black leadership servitude dialogue. See, you see what I'm saying? To do the black-on-black thing, but not under the certain things. Certain things are off of discussion because that's a plan or a plot, and not an incident.
Okay, Sharon, it
It's a
appears that
series
it's
of
just
things.
me and you
So,
and him.
we know the LA Times
still
knew
with
about
me?
the story. And then when I got to Washington, In November, this story appeared. In November 4 of 91, we found that story in the Washington Post, where obviously they knew about the boule. They were talking about Wilder getting money for his campaign from the Guardsmen. We need to have a discussion about the Guardsmen. When I was on the board of the NAACP in Chicago, they had a chairman called Chairman of the Club set. There were 40 or 50 black men and women's clubs.
That's what's up, sis. That's what's up. It's all good. I'm just doing this anyway, just putting it out here.
Don't sleep the links.
Somebody just said,
they like
those that need to.
Don't sleep it. We're going to have a new piece coming out on the links. The Four Horsemen, the Guardsmen, the Snakesmen. They got all kind of stuff going. You better find out about these clubs, because outside of small little press releases in the black press, you never hear what they do.
That's right.
And they make up the consensus behind the scenes about the containment. You see, the whites don't seek to stifle black leadership, they just seek to contain it.
That's right.
So that how do you allow a person to speak but say nothing? Becomes a strategy. This is, you become proficient in this. So we know, says that the Boule and Greek letter societies represent the infrastructure of black America, the fraternal dynamic that permeates the black community. Now, the white man wrote this.
The white man? What white man?
Infrastructure. Remember, the Boule calls itself the inner circle of our race.
Okay, y'all.
Which means that when Du Bois introduces the concept of the talented 10th, what it really was, talented 10th only.
The white man Bible, y'all.
Now,
Come
if you
on.
don't understand that, what only means, it means exclusively just us.
Okay, sis, I'm glad you're here with me. Thank you.
In spite
We'll
of
get what
or
we
in
need, man.
to 11 on down. This is a policy that they cannot break. So we know that
We're going to put this together with this white man Bible. That's what I'm talking about. The white man's Bible, y'all.
And we start finding these around the country. This is the black newspaper in Washington, D.C.
Shout out to the three that's in the chat. Me, Sharon, and whoever's in the bushes. Shout out to you, love.
1992. Talking about Epsilon.
Did y'all share the live? Look like one person should have came in if y'all had a share.
And it runs down all of it says, continued success.
Y'all know where they at.
Members of the area Boule, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
In 2 hours, you
Let's
can go
be
from
clear.
Richmond, Virginia, through D.C., down there up to Baltimore, Maryland. So you got 3 states you can quickly get to.
Talk to us,
And this
Steve.
list said there was approximately 65 members at the D.C. Boule. Some of them are.
We still got D.C. Boules up in now.
Rep Cox to us or something. Marty Franklin, Carl Anderson, blah, blah, blank. Wesley Brown, George Weaver, blah, 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 blah. Said here that
There are the names
Attorney
of them.
Jordan, it was Attorney Jordan and his lovely wife Ann, who is white.
Who is white? They all had to have handlers, y'all. Let's be clear.
That evening, the newlyweds had just returned from their honeymoon. It was a real pleasure to see them so soon after the surprise nuptials. We wish them much happiness. The point of it is that the kiss-off to the Boule is that of positiveness. So the question becomes, since they had never wrote a critical story of the Boule, then the supposition is that the Boule's history, what they have amounted to, what they are, is worth emulation and success as opposed to analysis and condemnation. A value judgment has been made that we weren't a part of, and the conclusion
And
is
we still ain't a part of it. Let's be clear. We're still not a part of this. Okay, how many times y'all think y'all have voted?
When in fact, in the power dynamic, they are the primary consulted ones from the white race. I'm doing my best.
That's all right, Steve.
This is, of course, Jet Magazine, which in August is announcing the new head of the Boule being put in.
Society
You're just
world.
looking at it, you don't even see boule.
Society
Which
world.
means you gotta read into stuff.
You don't
Everything,
read-
every
you
little
don't know it's
picture,
boule.
flip, flop, everything. Gotta have some way of grabbing your attention. 41st, show you right, lady. The 41st band of Grand Boule of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity convened in the Blush. What we know about every time they meet, it's always flush. It's always flush. Western Crown Center, hotel in Kansas City, Missouri. The immediate past grandsire Archon Benjamin Mayer of Oakland, passed the gavel to the new grandsire Archon Hugh D. Perkins of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. African Americans working together for progress was the theme. Well, how can we have progress when we haven't met? Was the theme of the boule. Roy Roberts, manufacturing manager of General Motors Corporation, was the dynamic keynote speaker. An evening dinner lecture on the history of Kansas City jazz, an enjoyable.
And sis, let's be clear. When he mentioned these big companies just then, let's be clear who was the folks working in them factories, right? Because they had the great flood in Mississippi to drown out all the people, to run them up to Chicago. And all of these plants where they was making all of these different things.
Picnic, where more than 784 Archons, that's 19, 7, 8, and 4, no arbitrary number, Archons and their families feasted on the delectable, famous Gage's and Sons barbecue. Were among the boule highlights. That was the highlight. Accolades were heaped upon the General Chairman, Elmer Jackson Jr., and his state of boule of Kansas City Archons and Archhouses, which is the wives. Now that means, of course, not only is John Johnson a boule, but that he's known about it. He can report to us more about it. But in fact, again, the dialogue is about platitude. Here's another one. Found this one in New York Amsterdam News. The Amsterdam News is a brother who came out who was being attacked by the New York Post. Everybody really loved the brother for coming out and counterattacking, for being attacked in the New York Post. I forget the brother's name, Tate, no, not Tate, the brother that head of the Amsterdam News, he was on Nightline one night. Tatum, there we go, Tatum, that's it. Brother Tatum, and this is his newspaper in New York, and he also was the first black press to do the ADL story in New York, which is a very amiable. And here is in his paper, giving honor at the invitation of the 3 metropolitan and suburban chapters of the Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, many.
Look at all these daggone fraternities.
A very enjoyable animal Christmas party was held at the Holiday Inn Crown Plaza. Well, it's interesting, they got 2 crowns. They made it the Crown in Kansas City, and the Crown is the Crown family who owns General Dynamics. Big-time Jewish people who have attacked me personally.
The Jewish people, remember these names.
First letter, Greek letter fraternity of African Americans in this country. The host chapters, it lists them. It lists some of the people that were there, judges, the mayor, deacons, and all of that. Say annual party draws, distinguished guests. Of course, there's no hint of aversion in the story, but it only means that even though the brother at Amsterdam was good in the fight, it did not, in fact, expose what it could have. Now, we were here just the other night, and we talked about this. This was our subject matter. We talked about that. Army Black Spy Network dates back to 1917.
Army Black Spy Network, y'all. Ooh, honey.
On May 3rd, 1917, the Secretary of War, Newton D. Baker, ordered von Neumann. So we got Newton Baker, orders von Neumann, head of the Military Intelligence Division. It also said to set up the Army Spy Network against blacks.
Against blacks.
It also said again that his assistant to Newton Baker, Baker's special assistant
was Emmett Scott. And that Emmett Scott was a person that we wanted to look further at. And what we learned by looking at Emmett Scott was that he was a Boule member. In fact, when this story broke, and even though the black press was redoing the story without a theme, they couldn't go do what I did. I went and got my Boule list in my Boule book. And you see number 20 right there. Emmett Scott. This is listing who the Boule members were in Washington, D.C. in the early 1900s. I'm sorry, in front of somebody. And sister will tell you how excited I got when they dropped that Army spy story, and I then put my theme over it, and lo and behold, bingo, pops out the Boule man. Now the question becomes, are the other people who appear in the story patterned similarly after him? Remember, there were other people in the story, which was our Moulton, Booker T's successor at Tuskegee, came aboard, as did C.B. Ronan of Nashville, who sent Loving, the assistant to Von Demand, a list of potential black informants and troublemakers.
Look at that. Look at
That's
that.
Boule action.
That's how we got him, y'all.
Boule action.
Shit, we got him by way of that.
Robert Church of Memphis, Tennessee, who's the first black millionaire in America.
That's crazy.
Remember, the first black millionaire in America was a spy.
Whoa.
He was one of the wealthiest men of the race, has put me in touch with one prominent colored man in each of the largest southern cities. So he needed a network of prominent colored men to be available to provide to him the potential of identifying other troublemakers. So when I was in the mayor's office in Chicago, I, unbeknownst to myself, was being flushed out by competing powers around the mayor, who just happened to have been the head of the Boule. I didn't know it then. I didn't have the damn grid to fit over what I was seeing. It was just idiot attack to me. Just another old tack from a little faggot ex-government official. Took it like any other attack.
Shout out to the four that's in the chat.
But little did I know that he had been working against me and had served white mayors for many years and had done more than inform for them. Which meant that the Boule, to me, has been counted on by other people. And this story, going back into the Army's Black Spy Network, now you walk in two more people. You walk in Joel Spingard and W.B. Du Bois. Swamp them right into this picture here. And Du Bois takes his autobiography and dedicates it to Joel Spingard. Look in the first page. We talked about it last night. But then Joel Spingard gets revealed to have been a spy for military intelligence, which means that Du Bois must have been, like the others were, a spy. Now, this is a picture of Emmett Scott. Just for the record, we can put it on the video. That's a picture of Emmett Scott. As right here in Los Angeles in 1941 at the Boule meeting in Griffin Park. 30 years into his Boule activity, Emmett Scott becomes the 11th grandsire archon from 1941 to 1946, and most prominently leading them through the war years. Now this is the Boule history book, keys us right up to the Memphis Commercial Appeal story. The selection of Emmett Scott as grandsire archon was one of the singular events of Sigma Pi Phi's history, which had significance for its war relationships during these years.
Excuse me, thank you.
No live remote celebration.
You look like
Came back, that's what I was shooting pictures of that. Came back, we had a little talk, we feel much better. We'll be all right. We'll be okay. We'll be all right. Says here, now listen to this now. Remember, this guy is a spy against black people. But instead of being demoted for being a spy
thank you for
against black
sharing.
people, he was made the king of the inner circle of our race.
The inner circle
It
of
said,
our
in the
race.
years, our John Scott had served during World War I in the years 1917 to 1919 as special assistant to Secretary of War Newton Baker.
Man.
He was also the author of a volume, The American Negro in the World War, which was a phenomenon, seeing that was 40 years before Rosa Parks. To get a nigga to go fight, couldn't even be in a whitewash room, that's heavy.
That's it.
So we need to remember that. So the black press could have told us in reviewing history like it does, and you know, black press does give you a lot of Negro history. Watch it carefully.
But it don't give us
gives you
that.
a lot of Negro history.
It don't give us
now
that.
We know they're giving us the short-eye history.
They're giving us what they want us to know.
They could have went deeper and explained better the real theme that held our history together. Our history. And Brother Marcus said something that was really an honor to me, and not in a disrespect to anyone. He said, Steve, you know, there have been a lot of people looking at this Garvey thing, but I never heard this theme come back of proving Garvey being attacked from an organized group of white men, black men, whose loyalty was the white men. In other words, we've almost gotten it so tight that it could be criminal charges. See, I mean, it's the evidence has weighed in so strong now that it wasn't just a cat. Everybody always says, well, what did the Boule do wrong? No, I mean, that's a logical question. Well, what are you holding against it? And that's assistance, what we call co-assistance to genocide. That's right, that's right. And we be up on that. And of course, we remember we talked about the other night, and of course you can't see that at all. Now you won't be able to see it. But we talked about how they utilized the Klan in the spy network. That they could always count on the Klan of keeping track on a nigga. So the Army used the Boule to spot out the troublemakers, but used the Klan to spot the niggas. Now what's the difference? You needed two different groups because the Klan didn't have enough money to spot out these niggas. Because Klan couldn't go where these niggas had the privilege of being at, which was so close to the white man that the Klan couldn't get that close. So the Klan had to supervise poor niggas. But that's about the way it broke down. And so that they had to sort it out about who got to do what. Now, we don't want to forget this. Now, this is how one man built an empire. I'm going to blow that little chart up there for you. Let me see what I got to do. Yeah, I think I'm going to blow it up. Don't look like it's going to get no better.
Chief Golson, how you doing, love? Great continuation. He didn't notify you, baby. He didn't notify everybody else either, I bet you. Because ain't nobody been over here. So share it out a little bit for me, y'all. Listen. Did y'all get what he just said? They put the Ku Klux Klan on the poor niggas. But they had the Boule for the uppity rich niggas. So the Boule was able to get where the Ku Klux Klan couldn't get. Did y'all get that? I hope y'all got that.
But what that chart tells you is how many chapters Marcus Garvey had in how many places. Cuba, 52 branches. Number of branches. Distribution of UNIA branches.
Who
Cuba,
knew that?
52, Panama, 47.
52
Trinidad,
branches.
Costa Rica, 21. Canada, 15. Jamaica, 11. Honduras, 8. South Africa, 8. British Guyana, 7. Colombia, 6. Dominican Republic, 5. Guatemala, 5. Nicaragua, 5.
Have anybody ever heard that?
Honduras 4, Mexico 4, Sierra Leone 3, England 3, Gold Coast 2, Liberia 2, Bahamas 2. We have yet in the history. Now this don't even include Harlem, Chicago. This ain't even include in the continent of so-called America. We have yet to come back that strong ever. Right. And never really been told how deep brother was in. They have not told us how close Marcus Garvey got to the people we were after. They have never told us. Just like when we went through the Malcolm thing, we saw they never told us that Malcolm really did attack the Rockefellers. And that Malcolm knew of the Boule, but he called them Big Six, which was the best he could conceptualize because he didn't know the whole thing. But he still had a concept for a cohesive element of black men who are being used to compromise all other black people. All right? So we keep that in context. Now let's flip over here. I want to share with you something that about the Jewish involvement. Now, part of the reason that black leadership, so-called, is such a butter knife is that at a specific moment, white people showed up and made a scientific decision that we have to get in the front of that nigger parade because that will be our leverage with the other whites. Now, let me go. Let's put the year 1915 on the top of my forehead. Pre-1915, there is no record of Jewish philanthropy in the black community. 1915. Now, you remember that the Urban League and NAACP was 1908, 1909, and all the rest of that. You remember that? All right. So, but these were predominantly being assisted by Anglos. And that the Anglos were, in fact, the ones that they all sought to be with, the Jewish philanthropists as well as the talented Tim. In fact, it mentions that there emerged an alliance. This is where you got to go back to.
Is anybody seeing the white man Bible in here yet?
It's a little deeper. But that this so-called alliance that we've had started with Jewish wealthy and college-educated blacks. That was the alliance.
Jewish wealth and college-educated blacks. So the Jew, wait a minute.
About Jewish wealth.
So the Jews and the Boulets. What he's saying is the Jews and the Boulets was working together. So the white man Bible, that white supremacist who was also a Senate, he came to the conclusion that the Jews and them African niggas was his enemy. Sharon, is that what it was? See what I'm saying? He's showing us exactly what the white man showed us in the white man's Bible. That the Jews and them niggas, that's why these niggas want us to be niggas so bad, want us to say we are African Americans so bad, because they are the original Boulets, children of them. Let's go.
Setting up an alliance with the best of the blacks, which were only college-educated blacks. In other words, the so-called alliance never started equally because there were no black wealthy to ally with Jewish wealthy to make it a mutual alliance.
Y'all
never
hear?
from the beginning.
Not
so that the blacks who were gathered up to be the alliance partners to the Jewish wealthy were in fact college-educated blacks, or
they had to give education to get there.
Blacks.
Yes.
Which meant that all the blacks had for power was the concept of education. A group of blacks who would get authority over the other 90%. That was Du Bois's concept of a leadership, the talented tip. And that concept of leadership is what he offered to the white man, to have the white man assist them in being that leadership. That the talented tip was not a statement of guarantee with our people. Our people didn't conceive of the concept. It wasn't taken to us for ratification. It was a separating of the community in an organized decision by a weak element that felt itself intellectually superior. But in fact, was
I hope y'all getting this. I know it ain't but a few of y'all in there, but it's ain't gonna take but a few of us to make a damn difference. Everybody else, they scared.
Now, let me hook it in with you right here. I want to bring something together right on top of this that'll make it real interesting. It says here, the article is David Levering Lewis, Parallels and Divergencies, Assimilation Strategies of Afro-American and Jewish Elites from 1910 to 1930. Now, as I said, I have never been one for Negro history. But now the 1910 to 1930 period is important to us in our investigation because the spy story has told us that something happened in 1917, only 13 years after the formulation of the WHATs. A predominant assignment had developed, and that assignment gave the impression that maybe this was set up to be the spy system. The argument simply stated that there was a time when a small number of socially powerful and politically privileged Jews and African Americans embraced the ideology of extreme cultural assimilationism. That although this ideology was empathetically not without paradox or illogic, its ultimate consequence entailed the abandonment of identity, and that these two elites, one wealthy and primarily German Jewish, the other largely Northern and college-trained African American, reacted to threats to their hegemony from both within and from outside their ethnic universes, decided to concert many of their undertakings in the belief that group assimilation could accelerate through strategies of overt and covert assistance. Influential Jews and talented tipped African Americans.
African American, they had to do that
to promote their social and political programs because of nativism. Other members of their group.
Now, do you see why they had to give us a classification as African American, like right now? Because actually, we wasn't. This is the last one, right? Because when Obama was in office, the petition that he put in was to take Negro off, and he named us African Americans blacks. That's why that's on that paper now, because Obama did that. So when Steve Copeland talking about they was calling these people African American, could it be possible they was literally bringing their educated Africans who have been in Europe, who have been in those areas, in those schools, those colleges over there, that they had trained to be the boulets that they created to come here and be the African American elite? Do y'all see it? That's why the white man Bible is very important, because this Caucasian is literally telling us who, same thing Steve is telling. That's why I did this slide, to line this up.
Who were acting ignorant or less civilized. In other words, assimilation would be messed up by someone who didn't know how to eat right.
Okay.
Right.
White, not right, white.
And
y'all heard it?
It says the racism set off.
They had to bring folks that was doing what they wanted them to do to be this.
Eastern Europe and the Deep South. Many poor whites coming from Eastern Europe. Many so-called poor blacks coming from up south.
Okay.
Triggering, in turn, divisive and strident cultural and political nationalisms among the unabsorbed, increasingly despised newcomers. Now, it also contained a document.
Yeah, this is a good live. I don't care if it ain't but 5 of y'all in here. We're going to get this, y'all. We got things to do.
The Urban League and many others got in the forefront of calling for blacks to stay in the South. And that raised a lot of other adjoining questions. What the familiar details of the beginnings of American anti-Semitism do not adequately explain is why Jewish involvement with African Americans greatly intensified after 1915, taking on an urgency of a special mission. Why Jews are...
What the white man said in his Bible, he said Jews and niggas. Niggas are from Africa. He said they are his mortal enemy. Let's go.
Influence and wealth rapidly moved from racial altruism barely distinguishable from that of a neo-abolitionist and parlor socialist wasp to virtual management of African-American organizations. Virtual management of.
Virtual management. What that mean?
It says available literature is silent about pre-1915 debate. What literature there was abruptly resolved by August 17th, 1915.
Y'all seen these dates? 1915, we saw 1917. They're in the 1900s, y'all.
Of Leo Frank of Marietta, Georgia. Frank was a Cornell University graduate whose grandfather had been a decorated
Marietta, Georgia,
and leading Atlanta businessman. Leo Frank was head of B'nai B'rith in Atlanta. Leo Frank was head of B'nai B'rith in Atlanta.
Oh, snap. I did that accidentally, y'all. Okay, y'all, let me talk to it, come back on. So y'all see this. These are boulets all over everywhere they got going on. So can I pick a werewolves? Well, okay, here we go, y'all.
Intense.
Oh, yeah.
Personal interviews with how many? 150. How many do it?
Well, on part 2 now, y'all. He live doing part 2, y'all. Okay, we're gonna catch up on part 2 with him.
Just here is because we're gonna suck up this excuse because we gotta have the Stevie Wonder. Are you with us or not? Come on. Sheet of paper.
Y'all check out both of them if you want the information. Y'all know I'm just skipping along because I'm making a point. I'm making a point about this white man Bible, y'all. Let's go.
You and the alcoholics just went to bed.
Thank you for being here. The fort is here.
You know nothing 5 ain't drinking no whiskey, right? So you got 0 population base.
That's good.
Hey, another big move for the station. So we're gonna see what becomes of Brother Copeland's opportunity. Now it's interesting that I mentioned the black press just for an example. I want to show you something. Just a deviation. The attack on the real community has been contained by the little opportunity we have to hear about it from our own press. You know, I was thinking about it. When we did the story about the boule, when the first story of the boule came out, which is that one, which appeared in the LA Times. Uh-oh. Did I get you still in? When that first story came out, that was July 18th, 1990, which we looked at right here. This is the first story about Sigma Pi Phi. That meant to us that the LA Times already knew about the boule.
So 1980 something is when they first started talking about the boule. Y'all see that?
As I'm going to show you, was primarily responsible for attacking Marcus Garvey, but what protected their attack was that the whites refused to write about the attack. See, they like to play up black-on-black crime.
Yeah.
But not white-inspired black-on-black leadership servitude dialogue. See, you see what I'm saying? To do the black-on-black thing, but not under the certain things. Certain things are off of discussion because that's a plan or a plot and not an incident. It's a series of things. So we know the LA Times knew about the story. And then when I got to Washington in November, this story appeared in November 4 of 91. We found that story in the Washington Post, where obviously they knew about the boule. They were talking about Wilder getting money for his campaign from the Guardsmen. We need to have a discussion about the Guardsmen. When I was on the board of the NAACP in Chicago, they had a chairman called Chairman of the Club set. There were 40 or 50 black men and women's clubs. The Links, Chad, the Y'all better watch them links. Don't sleep the links. They like the woman Boule. Don't sleep it. We're going to have a new piece coming out on the links. The 4 horsemen, the guardsmen, the snakesmen. They got all kind of stuff going. You better find out about these clubs, because outside of small little press releases in the black press, you never hear what they do. And they make up the consensus behind the scenes about the containment. You see, the whites don't seek to stifle black leadership, they just seek to contain it.
That's right.
So that how do you allow a person to speak but say nothing?
So the whites just want to contain it, but the Jews is what? The Jews is control.
Said that the Boule and Greek letter societies represent the infrastructure of Black America. The fraternal dynamic.
The Greeks is the Jews.
Now, what man wrote this?
The Greeks is the
And it
Jews,
represents
y'all.
the infrastructure. Remember, the Boule called
Let me
itself
go.
the inner circle of our race. Which means that when Du Bois introduces the concept of the talented 10, what it really was, talented 10 only. Now, if you don't understand that, what only means, it means exclusively just us.
Yes.
And it means that the guarantee is that in spite of or in deference to 11 on down. This is a policy that they cannot break.
The
So we
secret.
know that they knew about it.
It's a
So it was
secret.
no news to them. And then we start finding these around the country. This is the black newspaper in Washington, D.C., the Washington Afro-American, with a 1992 story dated January 11th, 1992, talking about Epsilon Boule Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity Annual Dinner Dance. And it runs down all this, and it says, continued success to all the members of the area Boule, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. They had a meeting together, all three of them, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. In 2 hours, you can go from Richmond, Virginia, through D.C., down there up to Baltimore, Maryland. So you got 3 states you can quickly get to. And this list said there was approximately 65 members at the D.C. Boule. Some of them are our host, Samuel Massey, Grand, Rep. Cars to us or something. Hardy Franklin, Carl Anderson, Blah, blank, blank, Wesley Brown, George Weaver, blah, 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 blah. Said here that Vernon Jordan, it was Attorney Jordan and his lovely wife, Ann, who is white, who invited Mayor Sharon Pratt Kelly and her husband that evening. The newlyweds had just returned from their honeymoon. It was a real pleasure to see them so soon after the surprise.
Oh yeah, we got to that
Which
part,
they were
y'all.
happiness.
I remember that.
Brother,
I remember that part. We got to that part. Let's go up here a little bit more, y'all. I'm gonna get ready to end this in a minute.
in fact, it mentions that there emerged an alliance. This is where you got to go back to the black. This will come out in the black and Jews thing. We'll go into this a little deeper. But that this so-called alliance that we've had started with Jewish wealthy and college-educated blacks. That was the alliance. Now that's significant, just to rehash it. What is significant about Jewish wealthy setting up an alliance with the best of the blacks, which were only college-educated blacks? In other words, the so-called alliance never started equally because there were no black wealthy to align with Jewish wealthy to make it a mutual alliance. Never from the beginning. So that the blacks who were gathered up to be the alliance partners to the Jewish wealthy were in fact college-educated blacks, or as they say here, a talented 10th blacks. Which meant that all the blacks had for power was the concept of a group of blacks who would get authority over the other 90%. That was Du Bois's concept of the leadership, the talented 10th. And that concept of leadership is what he offered to the white man, to have the white man assist them in being that leadership. That the talented 10th was not a statement of guarantee with our people. our people didn't conceive of the concept. It wasn't taken to us for ratification. It was a separating of the community in an organized decision by a weak element that felt itself intellectually superior, but in fact was not more relevant, more helpful, what was not identifiably any better than anyone else who could have been the leadership, so-called. Now, let me hook it in with you right here. I want to bring something together right on top of this that'll make it real interesting. It says here that an article is David Levering Lewis, Parallels and Divergencies, Assimilation Strategies of Afro-American and Jewish Elites from 1910 to 1930. Now, as I said, I have never been one for Negro history. But now the 1910 to 1930 period is important to us in our investigation because the spy story has told us that something happened in 1917, only 13 years after the formulation of the Boule. A predominant assignment had developed, and that assignment gave the impression that maybe this was set up to be the spy system. The argument simply stated that there was a time when a small number of socially powerful and politically privileged Jews and African Americans embraced the ideology of extreme cultural assimilationism. That although this ideology was empathetically not without paradox or illogic, its ultimate consequence entailed the abandonment of identity, and that these two elites, one wealthy and primarily German Jewish, the other largely Northern and college-trained African American, reacted to threats to their hegemony from both within and from outside their ethnic universes, decided to consort many of their undertakings in the belief that group assimilation could accelerate through strategies of overt and covert assistance. Influential Jews and talented tipped African Americans feared within a short span of time they would be powerless to promote their social and political programs because of nativism, other members of their groups who were acting ignorant or less civilized. In other words, assimilation would be messed up by someone who didn't know how to eat right and speak right. And it says the racism set off among old stock Americans by uncontrolled migration from Eastern Europe and the Deep South. Many poor whites coming from Eastern Europe, many so-called poor blacks coming from up south. Triggering, in turn, divisive and strident cultural and political nationalisms among the unabsorbed, increasingly despised newcomers. Now, it also contained documents of different people speaking against migration, which was interesting because the Urban League and many others got in the forefront of calling for blacks to stay in the South. And that raised a lot of other adjoining questions. What the familiar details of the beginnings of American anti-Semitism do not adequately explain is why Jewish involvement with African Americans greatly intensified after 1915, taking on the urgency of a special mission. Why Jews of influence and wealth rapidly moved from racial altruism barely distinguishable from that of a neo-abolitionist and parlor socialist wasp to virtual management of African American organizations. Virtual management of.
Y'all hear this?
What debate there was? It says available literature is silent about pre-1915
I think it's about what we were.
What literature there was abruptly resolved by August 17, 1915 lynching of Leo Frank of Marriott, Georgia. Frank was a Cornell University graduate whose grandfather had been a decorated Confederate officer.
This is where I messed up.
And leading Atlanta businessman. Leo Frank was head of B'nai B'rith in Atlanta. Leo Frank was head of a neighborhood in Atlanta.
Of what? A neighborhood? What's a
And of
neighborhood?
course, Leo Frank was the first white man in the history of America to be solely convicted on the testimony of a black man. Now that so scared the Jewish people, because the Jewish people, Jewish philanthropists, old-line Jewish philanthropists said, we should not get caught helping the Negro, for it is not good to help America's pariah, for we too will be looked at as the pariah's assistant. And since we're trying to escape being the pariah of Europe,
What's a pariah, y'all?
we won't get caught helping the Negro yet. That was the pre-1915. But when the head of the International Order of B'nai B'rith in Atlanta gets hung for raping a white woman solely on the testimony of a black man, they got scared of this shit.
Wow.
That scared them. That's when they ran out and formed the Anti-Defamation League. Because that's when they knew that if a black man could convict a Jewish man, white man in America, that they better get out quick and get some sort of organization to protect them. Because to them, it couldn't have been anything lower. It says here, listen to this. It says that accused of the murder rape of a white female, he was the first white man in post-bellum South to be convicted on the capital offense on the testimony of an African American. The incendiary speeches of Tom Watson, the newly demented Georgia populist leader, and the barbarianism of Marietta Mob made it clear that the victim's punishment had been determined by race and class rather than by regard for evidence. The Frank Clay's case also briefly threatened Afro-American Jewish goodwill when the Jewish-owned New York Times demanded that the Georgia authorities try the African-American janitor, the sole witness to the crime, as the guilty party.
Whoa.
Hey, not only is he not guilty, but try the nigga. You know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you ain't supposed to try that.
It's a nigga
Yeah.
against all
The
of us.
nigga first. Yeah. Wow, y'all with me?
It's
I hope
a
y'all
many
see what I'm bringing,
use
because
of
I got a
distinctions. It said
message
that
to my
the
man.
Jewish leaders preferred leaders of accommodation rather than of protest. What's wrong? Something wrong?
You see what I'm bringing, Sharon, right? You know why I'm doing this, right? The white man said,
Now, sister is going to start in the back of the room and start passing the hat while I'm talking,
oh, he been
so that I
collect.
can keep talking.
Take the collection.
I want you to do good. Again, I tell you, outside of 2 or 3
Thank you,
people,
my sister.
we
I
can get about
appreciate you.
$1.60 a person. And I think we just deserve better. I don't know. One day, sister, we may have to go to $5 admission at the door to get the money, because
Get it before they come in.
I shouldn't have to say it. I don't. You know, I used to count the money here and tell you what was there and beg you some more. I just been going home, and sometimes when I get home, I can barely speak. My throat is swollen. I got to look in the pile and start rearranging for the next lecture, and look in there and see $140, $150. Spending 2, 3, 4 days trying to put this together, it can be a little disheartening. A sizable, thick.
All right,
Somebody take
sister.
a
Thank you for the
blown up dollar bill in
encouragement.
there.
As long as you can see what I'm doing here.
And there shouldn't be anybody that does nothing. That just shouldn't be. Now, let me go ahead on. I'm trying to do my best. I'm telling you, every day I leave here, sister will tell you, I'll be up till 4 or 5 o'clock this morning trying to finish reading. There's so much to catch up with in this new area that I just don't have enough time to do it all. And, oh, you be okay, Poochie Man. Hey, Maya. Oh, Maya. Hey, Maya. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Now, every other guy in here, Maya, would jump in Lisa's arms in a minute. What's that? Oh, yeah.
That Egypt stuff. Y'all hear that Egypt stuff. But I just want to say something about being appreciated. Based on the fact of what he just said, a lot of people really, put a lot into trying to bring something to the people, and I understand it. And I see a lot of people that beg for money that don't deserve shit. Excuse my French again. They really don't deserve nothing because it's a whole shit show. And they just, but that seems to be to me what I see people paying for. People love to be entertained. And that's why I don't have a 5 people over here now, because I'm not doing nothing crazy. Somebody told me to put on a negligee and put a blonde wig on. I wish I would do something stupid like that to try to get in entertainment, or to try to get some people to come over here and look at me or to hear me. I'm not into that. I'm going to bring the truth to you, and I'm going to bring the best I can. I'm just sharing what I got. I'm nobody's lecturer. Let's be clear. My disclaimer is I'm nobody's teacher. I am nobody's nothing. I'm just Mama Chief, and I got something to say sometime, and I got something to share. And if I see it, I'm going to show it to you. And that's how it is. If you choose to want to drop me a couple of dollars, or even just to tell me you love me, just to put some fire emojis in here, or just to say you got this, that's deep for me, because it encouraged me to keep doing what I'm doing. So with that being said, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and play this some more.
Right.
Only been on here
Now, listen up. Let's try this here.
Almost 2 hours.
Now, listen to this. Now, when the Jewish people start to get involved, having been afraid by what happened, when the Jewish people start getting involved, they talk about that they start looking for blacks in the various cities that had pedigree. The word pedigree was used. Now, in the article condemning me,
they start looking for a legacy. They start looking for them that own land. They start looking for them that had stock in this country. We still talking about what, the 1900s. So go figure. During the Red Summers, what, 1915, 1912, 1930, all of these times. This is when they was working up to doing what they did when they started bombing, when they did Oklahoma, when they did all these bombings and start taking land from us, start taking us off the land. Let's be clear. This is what absolutely happened.
This guy Taylor Branch in here, in condemning me, he said Coakley lacked pedigree. Therefore, he was like a scavenger fish type of thing. But in looking in our community, he used the word pedigree. Sister, you come all the way out. Got to come all the way out. There we go. You can't get hungry and be missing nobody now. Telling me, baby, you know what we need. And I say, baby, I seen you when you miss a whole row of them people.
You gotta go back there and get that money, girl. Y'all see that? He said you missed a whole row.
Raffle off that tape. And you can't lose by putting up $1 or $2 or $5, because everybody got a chance to win.
You too, Sister Sharon.
You never know. I tell you that you really run that video when it just costs $1. That should be spinning. You said look at that video. I don't even care what it say. It's just $1. Even if I tape over it, I couldn't have bought it for $1. So it might just be a $3 bonus for you. But hey, whatever's to you, but it's there. Now, it says here that during the ascendancy of Booker T. Washington, militant Afro-American spokesmen in the North had commanded little of the loyalty of the masses of their own people, nor the attention of white philanthropy, to say nothing of the heed of the politicians. The death of the great accommodator in November of 1915 opened a crisis in race leadership. In that already became apparent that the Bookerite philosophy of African-American development through subordinate agriculture and trades was far more suited for the rural South. By 1917, perhaps as many as 250,000 Southern African
Can't nobody
Americans
say I
were
didn't
resettled
tell
in
them, so
urban
I know
North
I
and East.
did this
And voting
today.
rights had a few answers
For the
to social
record,
economic
for the
crisis raised by
record.
great migration. Consequently, many of the great industrial philanthropists turned from Tuskegee and Hampton Institutes political cadres to the urban, mostly northern men and women who had never forewarned faith in full civil and social equity, and for whom the NAACP's Du Bois, Boston's William Monroe Trotter, Washington's Francis Gripke, and Kelly Miller, and Chicago's Ida B. Wells
Working on the north.
heroes. Those were the radically racial men and women with whom socially constructed
Of the north.
conservative Jewish elite would form an alliance.
Of the north, the Jewish
talented
elite. Y'all hear this shit? Dang, ain't nobody in here listening to this but me. Ain't but, oh my goodness, ain't nobody here listening to this but me. But I'm going to play this, y'all, because I'm going to make this be on record. I don't care if don't nobody be in here with me, because I'm showing this. This is what the white man was talking about in the white man Bible. I'm gone. Let's go. I don't care if don't nobody be here. Hey, Chief. Hey, Chief. Thank you for the fire, baby. They don't understand what's going on. That's why everybody mad at me, because I got an urgency. Yeah, because I know what's going on. Y'all better get with me.
We're stamped in what E. Franklin Frazier called the genteel tradition of the small group of mulattoes who assimilated.
Whoa, genteel elite. Hold on, let me write that down. The genteel elite. The mulattoes. Y'all. Yeah. They don't want to know the truth, because that's why they want to stay stupid. Genteel elite. The mulattoes. Yeah. Y'all. They want to stay stuck. They want to stay stuck, I say.
Aristocracy.
Yeah.
But the nucleus was free black, descended from tiny colonial populations concentrated in Boston, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia, the founding place of the Boule, and Providence, Rhode Island.
Boston,
gradually
Brooklyn, and
augmented by Underground Railroad fugitives, and after the Civil War by Southerners with some or all of the endowments of pedigree, professional distinction, good morals, and affordable racial mixture. That is derived from
racial mixture made them damn Jews.
Few names.
Hold up.
Fortin, Heraldin, Purvis, Spyax, Trotter, Whipper, Downey represented the moderate fortunes from real estate, insurance, publishing, medicine, hospitaling, and construction. But most were from the generations of solid middle-class incomes. The talented tenth was exemplified by the National Urban League leadership of the early 20s, Eugene Kinkle Jones and George Edmund Hayes, Opportunity Editor Charles S. Johnson, Chicago Urban League Director T. Arnold Hill, all of whom were sons of professional fathers.
Listen at this.
Second-generation college products.
Second
So
generation.
One group of college-educated men. When the Boule starts off, you actually got the second generation of college-educated men. So on your second turn, the white man guarantees.
What year we at? What year we in?
One in crowd two.
Give me a year, Steve.
Perpetual leadership.
Give me a
because
year.
Here it says that if you agreed to be a part of this, you can at least have leadership for 40 years.
Perpetual.
Why they pick 40, I don't know.
Yep, perpetual.
Interestingly enough, it makes a comment about that when the Jewish people joined philanthropy, it allowed them to do something for other whites. It says the Jewish civil rights role relieved the DuPonts, the Fords, the Mellons, the Rockefellers, and other genteel capitalists from the burden of more infrequent ceremonial contact with African American leaders and organizations, which in turn somewhat vaguely obligated those capitalists to closer ties with Jewish financiers and philanthropists.
There you go.
See what I'm saying? That because the Jewish people showed up and relieved the DuPonts, the Astors, the Rockefellers, the Mellons, the Fords, etc., from spending their time or wasting their time giving their money away to Negroes in hump and pop ceremony, that the Jewish community came in and became that tender to the black leadership, which obligated the Carnegies, Mellons, DuPonts, and others to fraternize with Jewish philanthropy for assisting them on the Negro question. So that when they tell you, we've been a partner in the Black Jewish Alliance, you tell them, my knowledge is that the richest of you circumvented the riches of the Anglo-whites who you sought to get with at the museum and the Art Institute and the Symphony Orchestra and the opera, of which you
so it was a black Jewish, wait a minute. He said it was a black Jewish.
You never hung with.
He said it was a black Jewish community. Didn't he call Chi?
You, in fact, tended to an obligation that the white race had to keep niggas cool. And that, for example, Japan and Germany want to come in on the world thing. So every time something come up, America say, well, Japan, you got to put money up for Russia. Japan, Germany, you got to put some money up for Russia. You all got to help pay what it costs us to pay the world off. We'll put you on the Security Council of the UN. We'll put you, but you got to fork up and pay over for the containment of the globe. So in other words, if you're going to Japan enjoy the benefits of a world we dominate with military strength and violence, you got to pay us for dominating it. And so for the Jewish philanthropists to be included in the Anglophiles, which was what both groups aspired, the blacks and the Jewish people aspired to be up there, they had to show that they would foot the bill. You with me?
Oh, yeah.
So when they go into that dialogue about, and boy, I couldn't imagine them ever showing up for a real meeting over history. But God, we could have a trial. We could try black Jewish relations.
Black Jewish relations.
See what happened in there. Now listen to this. In fact, the guy Millard said, "I've never appealed to them for aid to the Negro and been rebuffed." Villard was the first Anglo or white. He was the first chairman of the NAACP, of which Spingard then followed him. But Villard only stayed there until Du Bois attacked Villard and made him leave, which brought Spingard in. And you must remember that too. That's a preferred leadership. Now, it says here that support of and participation in African American civil rights movement was seen after 1915 as meeting Jewish needs. When barely 10 years earlier, they had supported those African American forces, the Bookerites, only.
Are y'all hearing these different people? I know that it's just us in here, y'all. The three of us, we family, right? But are y'all hearing these different? Are y'all hearing them putting together what this white man told us in the White Man Bible? He's talking about some black Jewish. He's talking about some other Jews. He's talking about the whites. He's talking about the Klan members. Are we seeing what's going on here? Please say yes. Yeah. When he mentioned pedigree, he's talking about the pedigree of ours that was here. It's crazy, man. This is crazy. I want to stop it, but I mean, he's getting in. I mean, you know.
The Plank case, upper-class Jews increasingly encouraged the new African-American leadership, the Talented Tenth, which employed agitation and publicity as principal weapons to force the glacial pace of civil rights. By establishing a presence at the center of the civil rights movement,
okay, it's 1965.
Money and influence, elite Jews and their delegates could fight against anti-Semitism by remote control.
Wow. By remote control. Now, when we go back and he said the civil rights movement, we know that they had picked Michael King to be the black leader. He's African-American leader by now. And he was not us. He was from Portuguese or somewhere. Portuguese, well, he was not us. But yet they done chose him to be the boule because he was college graduates and all these type things. You know, that's how they work, right? So let's go.
See, when Copley gets attacked, I'll show you all the stories. They say, where are our responsible black leaders? Meaning, where are the ones that we paid to attack in a situation like this? You know what I mean? And so, in other words, they're going to fight the attack on themselves by remote control. In other words, if LeGrand Clegg says that Jewish people have dominated the influence of Hollywood and have portrayed negative images, and then by noon, Ben Hooks condemns him, the man who he was speaking for. They didn't have to fight LeGrand's so-called anti-Semitism because by remote control, they could clocker the niggas to do it.
Wow.
That was the point.
That's just like by remote control, they had them riots and had niggas doing stuff against themselves.
That's why they put niggas in the forefront of all their fights.
That's right.
So they put a sister was head in Planned Parenthood.
Yep.
They know how to do that.
Those are their boulets that they put in place, but the Jews and them are working together. That's what the white man Bible said. They work together.
This is deep. Julius Rosenwald became a trustee of the Rockefeller Foundation in 1922. This is very important because the Rosenwald Fund had always given out a lot of money to black schools. In fact, by the time Rosenwald hooks up with Rockefeller in the 20s, he had already given away $4 million to secondary and primary schools in the South. Now, what was important about Rosenwald coming on the board of the Rockefeller Foundation was that it meant that they would unify their philanthropic efforts. That was important because you couldn't have one group of whites building up the wrong set of niggas. So you had to have a clearinghouse so that you could check with your army man to find out who the troublemakers were.
So they built up the boule.
Money to a troublemaker.
So they funded the boule.
Their bill is don't feed the teachers.
Don't feed the teachers.
Remember that phrase.
And don't feed the
that
pigs.
hangs
Don't feed the animals.
up in them foundations. It said right on the wall, don't feed the teachers.
Wow.
And then the subline is feed the dumb and the ambitious. Now, Julius Rosenwald became a trustee of the Rockefeller Foundation in 22 after distributing more than $4 million or less out of his pocket to build schools for Southern blacks. Now remember that book. I mentioned to you the book by Carter G. Woodson and where that? There you go. Show you right. I mentioned this book here because this is the book that will show you exactly everywhere that Rosenwald put that money.
What's the name
Everywhere
of the
the Pew Foundation put their money. Everywhere the Rockefellers put their money. It's in a chapter called Educational Development. And in that chapter, it just lays out tons. It says the education of the Negro, however, has continued in the hands of whites.
Wow.
And the Negroes themselves being largely the objects of such efforts. This results from the fact
he got that in a whole big book, y'all.
The government and Negroes are not permitted to figure conspicuously in this sphere.
Y'all see that book in his
name? Not to be
name.
blamed for this. They are merely dealing with the situation as they found it. The public functionaries believe that it ensures to their special program to direct the mental development of the Negro along the lines which is not prejudicial to their interest. To develop the Negro along the lines which is not prejudicial to their interest.
Give us what ain't nothing no good for us.
And some of them, discarding the economic principle that the consumer pays the tax, boldly assert that since they are financing the education of the Negro, they have the right to direct it as they will.
Yo,
the
wow.
The Negroes, therefore,
niggas think they getting real too.
Telling the Negro what someone else wants him to say or do, and watching him do it in automatic fashion. Clear as day.
What's the name of that book?
Called The Educational Development. Page 572. Carter G. Woodson and Charles Wesley. Charles Wesley, of course, wrote the history book of the Boule. Carter G. Woodson wrote The Miseducation of the Negro. and the education of the Negro.
What
Correct.
else?
Outstandingly correct. The General Education Board. Anytime you're researching the past, you see the word General Education Board. That was the forerunner to the Rockefeller Foundation. That was his name before it became called the Rockefeller Foundation. It was Rockefeller's foundation, the General Education Fund. It's just that it was just that, an education fund. It says the General Education Fund, in dealing with the problem of Negro education in the South, has consistently tried to aid the various education agencies of the states in their endeavors. In 1910, the Peabody Education Fund, the Southern Education Board, enabled Virginia to employ a state grant for Negro rural schools. The following year, the General Education Board took over the support of this work and extended the offer to other southern states. Kentucky, Alabama, Arkansas responded at once, and they were closely followed by North Carolina and Tennessee. By 1914, Georgia was added. By 1919, each of the southern states had an appointed state agent for Negro rural schools as a member of the staff of the State Department of Education, paid for by the Rockefeller family. So he had built him a Negro superintendent of Negro school development in every state.
To make sure that we realize that we Africans to teach us the whole scenario of what we grew up with. This was diabolically planned, y'all. I hope y'all can see it. It's 6 of y'all in this chat, and I hope y'all see what has happened. Wide is the gate, and narrow is the way, y'all.
Now, if you have someone compiling a list of troublemakers, it doesn't make any difference unless you got access to controlling where a troublemaker may reside. Like at compulsory school, where everybody's forced to go. Now, if you got this sophistication of a system going, you could, in fact, start steering the student.
Yeah. That's what he just said, y'all. Did y'all get that? If these people put us in their schools so that they could monitor and see who had what type of mentality, to see who the geniuses was, to see who the slow ones was, to see who the ones that would build something was, to see who the ones who would destroy something was. Do y'all see where I'm going with this? These people had us placed in schools so that they could control our mentality completely. That is why I've always said that I couldn't stand school, because it took away the creativity of the child's mind. Because you got to sit down. You got to be told that you can't go to the bathroom. You got to be told to stand in line straight. All of this was military grade stuff. All of this was stuff that's taking us into being a controlled being. And then they're able to control our mental with what they're going to teach us. They teaching us 1, 2, 3 ABC, but they didn't teach us the real things that we needed to know, like the 1099 ABCs and the OIDs. They didn't teach us about stuff that we were supposed to know, because the Boulets knows this. That's how they are able to stay as in the money as they be. Y'all see it? Let's go. Hey, sis. How you doing, Goddess? Good to see you.
Negative veins, depending upon whether you want them to succeed or fail. And this book goes on, shows Howard, Fisk, shows all the schools, Atlanta U, all the money.
Wow. I want that book. I know it's expensive. I want that book.
It is not that he just controlled all the historically black colleges, but he has controlled the high schools,
all the black colleges,
grammar schools, and the kindergarten.
Everything. Good, y'all. Everything.
He set it all up. He left none of it for nothing.
See?
Remember, it was from slavery to controlled education. In other words, you were in fact just opening the cow out of a barn and sending them in to a barn house. He never really ever got a chance to roam free. There was never a Negro school just for Negroes, by Negroes, Negro finance. There has never, ever been one, ever.
So why would I want to go? Why would I want to see my child?
Though they bore our name and perception.
Wow.
We have never, ever had one.
Shout out to the sisters in the chat.
This whole chapter on education, I'll just leave that up there. It talked about, just to show you the domination, I was talking to you about the Rosenwald. Said that the Rosenwald Fund, working in cooperation with these agencies, contributed towards the erection of 5,357 public school buildings in 15 southern states.
Listen at that.
4,977 schoolhouses, 217 teachers' homes, 163 shops and vocational units, costing $28,408,520. This amounted.
Can you see that education and the education that they designed to give us was a whole financial? Listen, they got paid big time for false educating us. They got paid big time for teaching us what they wanted to teach us and creating us to be the people they wanted us to be. Do anybody see what I'm seeing here? Everybody was mass manipulated. I don't see nothing but a mass manipulation.
Of this amount, according to the report,
It's crazy.
the Negroes themselves gave $4 million in cash, labor, and materials. Says the teacher capacity of the so-called Rosenwald schools was 14,747. And out of those teachers that the whites were grooming to teach the Negroes came the leaders of the Negroes. They were all teachers first. Many of your
Teachers became the
key
leaders.
black leaders now
Teachers
are still
became
teachers.
the leaders
They
of
have
Ule.
always been college incubated. Think about it. Oh, tape check. Okay, anyway, I won't go any more to that chapter, but that chapter stands alone as being able to describe. What we're now talking about is that the select attack on black leadership has actually really been an attack on everybody who wasn't on the program. If Copley lacked pedigree and was a street scavenger, peddling tapes, then that was because he knew everybody else in the scheme was on the program. There wasn't nobody in the program that wasn't on the program. And little beknownst to the ones who rise up to get to the door to find out that by pedigree, breeding, assimilation, ambition, and other unworthy characteristics, that your talent, your skill, your desire, and your ability to be effective for the race, which is why you can understand why they wanted to ridicule Marcus Garvey. They just didn't say we don't want Marcus Garvey, but they call him black and dumb and ugly. What was that Du Bois called him? Big lips and what else?
Monkey.
Now what? A monstrosity. In fact, talks about the day Marcus Garvey went to the NAACP offices and saw all them white people running everything and stormed out of there saying, I don't believe it. And that was interesting because he could not believe that they would accept this relationship from the white man. When in fact, if they had just stuck with him, they could have had it all.
Which is a lie. Walter Plecker owned
Thank you.
Marcus Garvey.
Come on,
Garvey
Kev.
was
Straighten him
a
out.
black hand on white supremacy.
Straighten him
and a
out,
black hand
Kev.
on black genocide, bringing in the black nurses at the time because
Yeah,
our
I
people
see
would
that
not
remote
trust
too.
Margaret Sanger and those ladies at the time. They knew what was going on, so
That's
they brought
right.
in the Garveyites, Super Marcus Garvey, to counter the already untrustworthy NAACP.
Thank you, Kev, because I was with.
So Garvey was then used to
I wasn't
uproot
finna
the
let it
African American, get them to fight for Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie in turn submitted to white European authority, thus making them losers of the war. And all those who were with them. A lot of African Americans went to war with Selassie in some grand scheme of Black liberation and some promise that you will have a homeland, only to surrender, and you became a prisoner of war. Hit the like button, subscribe, make sure you hit that cash app, cash tag.
Right.
Gil's game.
Do you understand that if they hadn't broke ranks and decided to bite on to the hope of the American dream, we could have had it?
This is why Marcus Garvey was bailed out of jail by the one Walter Plecker.
That's right.
And boys who just paper genocided all of the freedmen and African Americans.
That's right.
The true people of this land.
Get it, Carol.
And it wasn't the attack of the white man that stopped us.
In my opinion, he's still bootlegging right now. In my opinion, that's why I say, if you don't know the right answer, you can't. If you don't know the right question, you ain't gonna get the right answer. He's sitting down uplifting Marcus Garvey, and if he don't put Marcus Garvey in his place, that's a sure sign to me to know he was still bootlegging, even though he was telling us this. He was telling us what he wanted, what they wanted him to tell us. Because if he don't straighten that shit up about what he just said about Marcus Garvey, he bootlegged.
Blacks to stop from supporting it. That's what it was. That's what it was. And that's right. That brings us to 1993. What was it? So that we have to give some credit to that. Now listen to this. Listen to.
Yes, Sister Sharon, that's what he said. He did say that they had a remote control way of dealing with the people with this program. Way probably before we even got a remote control on the TV, huh? Yeah, Sister Sharon.
The Rosenwald became a trustee of the Rockefeller Foundation after dispersing more than $4 million to build Southern schools, build schools for Southern blacks. That's why I jumped over to the other book to show you that they will specifically tell you how many schools, how many blacks. And that's to get...
Not Northern black. Remember, Boule started up north. And that's why it was so much better between the North and the South. And that's why a lot of people get mad when the South say that. But the North came against us. And the people that was in the North was from the damn South. So they had people turning against their own people because they was up north now and they in some territorial bull crap in their mind.
I'm honored not to bust them down. It says here that 6 years later, the reorganized Rosenwald Fund patterned on the Rockefeller Foundation. Let me repeat that. 6 years later, the reorganized Rosenwald Fund patterned on the Rockefeller Foundation was launched to upgrade higher education in the South.
Higher education for who? Not for nobody but us.
Particularly for African Americans.
Oh.
Between 1928 and 1948, now we're in the third generation of college educated. The Rosenwald Fund allocated money towards the endowment and construction to the major private African American institutions of higher learning. $1,037,000 to Dillard, $668,000 to Fisk, $542,000 to Atlanta U. Most of these granted in the early years of the Rosenwald Fund's existence. Fellowship.
Let's be clear, y'all. He just called off all those thousands of people for those universities, right? Let's be clear. That marks how many Boulets was educated. How many Boulets was sent out to get? How many Boulets was really educated and sent out to do the job of the Jewish nation? Y'all see where I'm going with this? The white man said that the Jews and these niggas from Africa, that's what they call them. But we know that they're the people that was educated by the Boule. Is it safe to just say that education came by way of being boule? Is it safe to say that they trained all of these college professors that look like us to take us over here into this place where we find ourselves today? Because if it had not been for them training these HBCUs, colleges, and all of our own people against us, would we not be in a better place today? But no, we got a lot of educated fools that have took the bait to keep the secret and to march all of us into a burning house, as did Martin Luther King Jr. Well, Michael.
Tips to artists. Listen to this. This is deep. Part of that money that went into those black schools at Fisk and the other places came after there were boycotts on those campuses by the students saying that the curriculum, which was white dominated, the teachers, which were white dominated, and the presidents, which were white, said that the education at those black schools were demeaning them. So Du Bois helped lead some of the protests at Fisk and other places against the curriculum. And that then compelled the philanthropists to shift the money flow from entry education to we better co-opt the top black education. And all of a sudden, all this 600,000, 700,000, 800,000 start flooding in the 20s to these black schools to compromise the fact that they're starting to be a hotbed of dissent. So now, start some shit in a spot and the money will follow. Listen to this. Listen to this. They said we not only brought on those black college presidents, fellowships to artists, educators, scholars, advanced their careers of African Americans' most gifted and enterprising future college presidents, such as Charles Johnson of Fisk, Mordecai Johnson of Howard, Horace Mann-Bond of Lincoln U, Dwight O.W. Holmes of Morgan State, humanists, social scientists such as Adeline Cromwell Hill.
Y'all, do y'all see that all people that look like us ain't always had a slavery institutional problem in their mind? Because when I'm listening at him, he calling off all these leaders of all these 3 generations of college people in the United States. So this racial connotation and all this, that we've gotten, it seems like it's something that has been created even, I don't know what y'all see what I'm saying, but I see this shit being a created situation, even down to the Ku Klux Klan, because they was working with the low-class Negroes, whereas the boule niggas was working with the high-class Negroes.
Kenneth Clark, Allison Davis,
that's them high-class Negro right there.
Sinclair Drake, Ira D. R.A. Reed,
creating boulets.
Harris,
just create boulets.
And artists and writers such as James Weldon Johnson, the first Rosenwald grantee, Sterling Brown, Langston Hughes, Claude McKay.
Everybody said Langston was a hero.
Von Temps, Richmond.
Have you ever heard them say Langston Hughes was a hero, like he was some type of hero? All these niggas went to college. Every college nigga, we can safely say, boule. Boule. And they got a secret.
Murphy. Selma Burke, Augusta Savage, Hale Woodruff, Jacob Lawrence. Significantly, Jewish educational philanthropy accelerated shortly after Fisk, Howard, Hampton.
So this was a Jewish philanthropy education.
In the 20s against policies and curriculum that a new generation of students considered racially demeaning. A crucial, if not apparent, difference between Jewish and WASP benefaction of African American higher education was the assistance of the former on education of competitive quality. The earnest, similar commitment of WASP philanthropy had become increasingly compromised after the turn of the century because Southern white pressures to supplant liberal arts and white-collar professional training with vocational instruction reinforced by ethnic and...
Let's be clear now. We got to keep it in the right perspective. He just mentioned the white people. When he mentioned white people, he ain't talking about the Jews. He gonna mention the Jews. He ain't talking about the white people. That's what we got to get clarified right here. Who in the heck is the white and the Jews? Because we know who the niggers is. The niggers is actually some Africans that they put over here and put in place and gave them some boule bullshit. And then they blended them with us to make us be them, and then but we know who they is. They are the boule. They are the educated ones that choose to be boule. And they're gonna be used as such.
Subservient separatists. What they were saying is that the old line Anglos, Rockefellers, DuPonts, and etc., who were industrialists, sought to finance vocational education.
Okay.
Because they were industrialists.
And they needed
Whereas
folks to come
when
and
the
work
Jewish
for them.
boys came, they put them in the humanities, in the arts, poetry, etc. Because why? Remember we talked the other night.
Wait a minute. Go back. Let's get that. Because he went to clarify kind of sort of what I was saying. Let's hear that again.
Arts and white-collar professional training with vocational instruction reinforced by ethnic and subservient separatists. What they were saying is that the old line Anglos, Rockefellers, DuPonts, and etc., who were industrialists,
those were the Anglos,
finance vocational education because they were industrialists. Whereas when the Jewish boys
now
came,
they the Jews. Now
they
see
put them in
the
the
Anglo and the Jews. Y'all
the
see the
arts.
difference? Y'all see what he just did, right? Tell me y'all heard him. He talked about the Anglo whites. Then he mentioned the Jews. Talking about two different kind of people, y'all, right? Y'all agreeing with me? There's 6 of y'all in this chat. I know somebody can tell me something. Did y'all hear what he said for real? Same thing the white man Bible said. So now, he just put a name on it. The Anglo white folks. And then the DuPont, Rockefeller, all them, that's the damn Jews. Did y'all see that? Okay, I know y'all might be just walking around listening, but I hope y'all see this.
Poetry, etc. Because why? Remember we talked the other night that in attacking Marcus Garvey, the Harlem Renaissance was a covert action project to build up Negro, not in politics, not in liberation, but in arts, humanities, and music.
Okay, where they at? Where they at? In Hollywood, in music, in the arts. All of them start going to them art school, them what they call them? Creative art schools and stuff, right? That's where Jada Pinkett and Tupac supposed to have met, right? A lot of them stars went to those school of arts, right? Y'all ain't talking to me in the chat. I'm gonna end in there if I don't have no communication. But y'all know I have to have some answers sometimes because it'll make me feel like I'm slow. Help me out.
As agreeable outlets.
No, I don't never feel like I'm slow. Let me stop lying.
Much more acceptable than back to Africa movements. With me? Yeah.
Right.
Now, it's coming together. Damn.
Yeah,
all these Negroes been studying Negro history. What did they find? I'm wondering what they was looking at. Because now that we done looked at it, shit.
Come on, Steve.
I'm using this book, but I can take you 10 books and collaborate everything I'm saying in this book. And this book got good footnotes in it to give you 10 books on every single thing that it says, and I can find 10 they didn't mention, which means the themes are readily findable. But weaving them and spitting them back in the now, AWOL. Don't have. It says that, very key. Okay. Constructive charity, profound influence, contribution to the formation of a kindred elite, followed quietly from the policies of Jewish leadership. The contribution to the formation of a kindred elite. Let me repeat that again. Boy. Constructive charity, profound influence, and contribution to the formation of a kindred elite flowed quietly from the policies of Jewish leadership. An additional benefit deriving from African American philanthropy, or so Alfred Stern, Jewish Rosenwald's son-in-law, hoped, was the undermining of the stereotype of Jews as predatory merchants and exploiters of real estate. In other words, the giving of money by Jewish people to the Negro was to offset the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, and the international Jew, which called the Jewish man a money-grabbing hunky dogma. Of which he was. And is. In a greater sense. Sense. What he was. He is that and more. The beast. Don't forget. It's the beast feeding session.
Okay, y'all here. He agree with the white man.
Who feeds the beast?
He is agreeing with the white man, y'all.
Now, it says here. Yeah, that's deep. For the talented attempt, heightened Jewish collaboration was extremely beneficial, for it too was caught in and unprepared by what the novelist and poet Claude McKay called African Zionism of Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association. The Garvey's movement's leadership was the majority was of true believers, but its growing appeal among African Americans extended from coast to coast deep into the South. Charisma and pageantry, exotic titles, uniform cadres, and the daunting cry of Africa for Africans, and a strident doctrine of unique, racially purified destiny of Mother Africa, expounded upon the American scene after 1917. With it, stress on separate development and entrepreneurship and self-help. UNI ideology appealed to thousands who felt the void created by Booker T. Washington's death. And Garvey, of course, professed to be a modernizing, internationalizing disciple of Booker T. Although there were several significant defections to Garveyism, the overwhelming majority of talented Tenth leadership was stunned, defensive, and resentful. Even Du Bois would claim to be the originator of Pan-Africanism in the United States, recoiled from Garveyism after a brief period of probing uncertainty. From the perspective of the talented Tenth, then, the more Garvey succeeded, the greater the dangers of racial polarization and finally repression. I remember there was a point in Chicago when the Steve Coakley thing had come down, and what had happened was there was a reprioritization of focus, and people were saying, well, let's get with Coakley. Let's rechange how we attacking this thing. Let's get behind Steve, because if the mayor agrees not to fire him and we stick with him and he's clean, then this represents the one we can back up all the way. And then another guy stands up, a prominent black attorney, former U.S. attorney, steps up in the room and says, in fact, it's Tom Todd. He says, I won't accept no leadership from no hooligan like Coakley. And then the others in the room began to say, well, what are you saying? He said, if you get with him, all y'all gonna lose your money. Point being was that if you all go for this new leadership thing, then the money ain't gonna flow. And you know, as long as you keep doing what you're supposed to, the money gonna keep flowing. Now, you get with Coakley, you better be ready to starve. Now, if you put it to a question of, would you fast for freedom? The majority of people say yes. But they didn't ask the people the question. The ones who were fat belly made the decision for the ones who were hungry. And we still making fat belly decisions. You see, again, if the righteous leadership develops that's hungry, the elite will not follow them. Because there is nothing short of a white man's fart shall they follow.
Come on with that.
So you're right. Hey. USA. Oh, there you check. All right. Says that American Negro leaders are not jealous of Garvey, the crisis protested. They are not envious of success. They're simply afraid of his failure, for his failure will be theirs. But despite Du Bois's disclaimer, the talented Tenth was envious and afraid of having to share and perhaps even yield its pretensions to leadership of the African American masses. Garvey was only partly blustering when he charged, quote, that the Negro who has the benefit of an education 40, 30, or 20 years ago is the greatest fraud and stumbling block to the real progress of the race. And you know what? And you know what? Garvey was only partly blustering when he charged, quote, the Negro who has had the benefit of an education of 40, 30, and 20 years ago is the greatest fraud and stumbling block to the real progress of the race. Nor, it says, nor was he guilty, as some pretended to believe, of applying an inappropriate West Indian color status theorem to African American leadership in the United States. If it was vicious to call attention publicly to the light complexions of the talented Tenth, it was also extremely effective against Du Bois, Jesse Moreland of the Young Men's Christian Association, YMCA, Walter White, and their kind. That charge drew from Du Bois the immediate warning, quote, American Negroes recognize no color line in and out of the race, and they will, in the end, punish the man.
Oh, I couldn't resist that. The YMCA. You know, we used to go to the Y as children, the Y, swim, and they used to have girls club and all that stuff for us. But when that song came out, the YMCA and those gay men, that's what that reminded me of, because we know this secret. These people got this secret too. And these men got this Greek sorority going on within their colleges. So my question is Greek and Jewish some kind of connection? That's another thing I'm trying to tie in. Whether they have some type of connection. What y'all think?
Who attempts to establish it. You hear that? You understand what he's saying? We will punish any man that reduces this to black and white. And right, and that became the punishment of Marcus Garvey. For it was just that clear to him. The deflation of, and this, we read this the other night, I'm just going to read it again to put it in context. Just as Uptown Jews tried to outrage the Zionists,
I think I'm going to go to the white man Bible song
socialists, upper crust African Americans readily joined with Harlem socialists who are still there today in Harlem. Socialist actors, some of their left counterparts are here in Los Angeles, still lefting. It's the left or the right side of the white groin.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Get in the camera, y'all. I gotta look like that.
No applause necessary. It says, just as Uptown Jubilee, the African American upper crust readily joined with the Harlem socialists led by the African Blood Brotherhood's Cyril Briggs to defeat the Garveyites. What's anybody know about the African Blood Brotherhoods? Anybody know anything about that? That's something we got to check out. I got to ask. I'm assuming everybody know what it is. I don't know what it is. Or who was Cyril Briggs?
What did he say? I gotta write that down. I gotta find out. He don't know. I definitely gotta find out. What did he say? The
African Blood Brotherhood's Cyril Briggs to defeat the Garveyites. What's anybody know about the African Blood Brotherhoods? Anybody know anything about that? That's something we got to check out. I got to ask. I'm assuming everybody know what it is. I don't know what it is. Or who was Cyril Briggs? Yeah, you know they do. But I skipped all that early part. I went all the way to the back part. The deflation of Garveyism presented the talented 10th leaders with an acute credibility crisis. For now, they had to prove that Garvey's extreme pessimism about the future of the race in the United States was unjustified, and that by helping to scuttle the fervent mass movement, they had not co-signed 11 million African Americans to perpetual economic and social misery, which they did. But the evidence and trends supported the Garveyite predictions. They have found that the blacks in industry had declined during the 20s. Quote, numbers of them had gone back into domestic and personal service, while the Negro women who had given up outside employment had been forced to return to work. The talented 10th anxieties about the dilemma permeated the writings of Elaine Locke, America's first black Rhodes Scholar, knew what a close call Garveyism had represented. Quote, we have for the present, in spite of Garvey's heroic efforts, no Zionistic hope or intention. What the opportunity called, quote, dumb dark masses were urgently in need of a new opiate, for Locke well understood that Garveyism has shown, quote, how much more ready and ripe for action than the minds of the leaders and the educated few, the masses were. So they knew already that they were not in the forefront of the aspirations of their people, but they were never willing to concede to their people's aspirations, the ones they claim to represent. A leader is a so-called consensus of his own followers' aspirations, not in separate or indifferent to those who they claim to serve. And that's a fundamental fuck-up. Says the only safeguard for mass relations in the future must be provided in carefully maintained contacts of the enlightened minorities of both races. Says, but we have to be careful about those who call for their ounce of democracy today, lest tomorrow they are beyond cure. Hence the race leaders must be clearly seen to have influence among the movers and shakers in the white world. A role legitimating requirement that, despite Garvey's example, might all found to be fundamental race feature. The interracial undertaking, as dazzling and mounted and as publicized as those of the UNIA were called for, promotion and celebration of symbolic racial breakthroughs were indispensable. What they're saying here is that the race leaders must be shown to have influence with the whites, and that this is a legitimizing process. You must legitimize the leader's role in the white world. And two, that we must play up our successes to counteract the pageantry, the parading, the uniforming, and the giving away of authority by Garvey. If Garvey said, you are the lieutenant general of the UNIA in Chicago, the nigga had authority. There was nothing that he could get where he could have a position in, because having come out of slavery, they beat organization down. So there was no spot where you could get qualities. So Garvey was making qualities and giving people assignments, uniforms, bars, stripes, commissions as generals, and they said, look out. So we have to do the same in reverse. We've got to play up our own Negroes things and play them up high so that they would have the same perceptions. And that these were role legitimizing requirements. The first and most obvious was the redoubling of advocacy of civil rights before the courts and Congress. The second was the novel strategy of harnessing art and literature, replacing civil rights. In other words, to ventilate in the courts and Congress make the Negro, remember, the NAACP comes in and the black struggle becomes the court struggle. We're going to the court to get the court to give us the right. That was a deviation from direct rights. I'll beat him, therefore I'll have rights for him. And then it said that they then also went off into art and literature, replacing civil rights. So that was the pursuit. By the end of the 1920s, the talented Tim spoke warmly of the special relationship with Jews. James Weldon Johnson and White routinely scrutinized obituary columns for Jewish legacies that the NAACP might tap, and listed prospective contributors, a disproportionate number of whom were Jews. During the Depression, William Rosenwald made a 3-year grant to the NAACP on the condition of it being matched by 3 others: Lerman, Mary Fells, and Felix Warbug, who is the brother of Paul Warbug, who set up the Federal Reserve Bank at Jekyll Island with Rockefeller, and also were financiers of Hitler. The Warbugs, they was hooked right in there. Also in the founding group of the Council on Foreign Relations. So what we're looking at, remember, Du Bois was the first black man to speak at the Council on Foreign Relations. So we're looking at, oh, y'all better just read this into the record before I forget. We're looking at them showing that the top whites,
I know y'all ain't getting this.
Connecting to these
I know ain't nobody here, but it's all right. I'm gonna play this. It's gonna be recorded on Mama T Live, Jack. For sure. Hey, Arthur, you came up in here. What's up, baby?
Dozens of soul African American orchestrators of the Harlem Renaissance. Charles Johnson, James Weldon
y'all
Johnson.
Hear this? I gotta get some of these names. I gotta go back, y'all.
And West End.
Oh my goodness. Oh, y'all. I mean, I know it's only 4 y'all in here, but y'all know we can change the world. Y'all know that the 4 of us can literally change the world. If we all understand what we're going through, what we've been through, and what we got to do. This is crazy. Listen to these names, y'all. I need a recorder because he's running around so fast I couldn't write that fast. But this is something. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm going to play it till I run out of time. I think I might have a couple more hours on here, y'all. Come on, let's go.
Remember, Du Bois was the first black man to speak at the Council on Foreign Relations.
Listen, Du Bois.
So we're looking at, oh, y'all better just read this into the record before I forget. We're looking at them showing that the top whites were directly connecting to these blacks that we're looking at. It says here, the talented tips primarily answer to black Zionism was the literary and artistic industry that manufactured the so-called Harlem Renaissance. The half-dozen or so African-American orchestrators of the Harlem Renaissance, Charles Johnson, James Weldon Johnson, Walter White, Fawcett, Elaine Locke, and West Indian.
Y'all, can y'all write that fast? He took up these names so fast. I want to look them up. I got to have some of these names. Thank you, T. Okay, I'm glad you're here and enjoying it. Thank you. Man, I got to have these names. Y'all help me get some of these names. Because y'all know I got to look them up. Do a live on them. We got to know. We got to know who our enemies is. We think everybody look like us. They ain't us. Okay, let's go, y'all.
So we're looking at,
Charles
just read this into the record before I forget. We're looking at them showing that the top whites were directly connecting to these blacks that we're looking at. It says here, the talented tips primarily answer to black Zionism was the literary and artistic industry that manufactured the so-called Harlem Renaissance. The half-dozen or so African-American orchestrators of the Harlem Renaissance, Charles Johnson, James Weldon Johnson, Walter White, Fawcett, Elaine Locke, and West Indian Arthur Schomburg, a bibliophile, Arthur Schomburg, who has a Schomburg Museum in New York. We gotta get in there.
I heard of that.
A lot of that Negro stuff is in that Schomburg Museum.
Oh, I heard of that.
And the West Indian numbers king Casper Holstein
Casper
conceived of it as a serious racial politic, art for politics' sake, or civil rights by copyright. Students of American culture have seen the Harlem Renaissance as another predictable, creatable bubble in a melting pot, a savory ingredient in a New England Knickerbocker, Hoosier, and Yiddish concoction. The Negro writers were caught up in a spirit of artistic yearnings of the time. This was true of the writer Langston Hughes and Jean Toomer, who were not typical of most of the other artists and writers.
Now we see how we got some of these so-called writings, some of these so-called folks with their books and their ideologies, because they had been influenced. They had been literally trained by the Jew. The white man Bible speaks about this Jew, these Jewish people, and these niggas that work with them. So a lot of us going to have to really understand that our families have played a role in a lot of this stuff. I mean, you know, everybody blaming this, blaming that. But we're going to have to learn how to put the blame where it lies. And the only way we're going to do that is by knowing how. Right? If we know how, who, what, and what, where, if we know it was here, we know everything transpired over here from colonization. The rest of the shit, the world was doing other stuff before they decided to come over here and do what they did. So, let's go.
It could have been seen to the most educated African Americans more impractical as a means of improving racial standings in the 20s than writing poetry and novels, painting, art, and literature were artificially created through glamorous ceremonies at the NAACP and the Urban League, who sponsored huge banquets and galas, gave prizes and fellowships, Guggenheim and Rosen
teas and shit. Having their women throwing teas and tea parties, the Eastern Stars, the all those other boule functions.
Wall grants, Spingard medals, literary prizes funded by Holstein, traveling art shows, and well-advertised fiction and poetry published by the Herman Foundation, and Bonnie Livingwright and Alfred Knopf, KNOPF. The National Recruitment of Talent by Fawcett and Charles Johnson says that they had a list of every emerging Negro in art, talent, music, and everywhere they found them all over the country, they came to them with an offer of money and brought them in.
Okay, here we go. The boule, what they call it, the Illuminati, when they said that this is how they got all these stars, what they have to sell their soul, what they have to give, what they can't even have their own, be in control of their own business. They get them while they fresh and young and they don't know nothing about business. They don't know they have a trust. They give them off of their own trust, they shit. And then they kill them and take it. Come on, y'all, let's be real here. I ain't biting my tongue. They know I shall not be censored. Give me something to say, and I got to say it. This is what truly has happened. And this man here, before he left here, he told. This is a reality that we got children right now. We got grown folks right now teaching their children how to want to be a star instead of teaching them how to want to feed themselves by growing some damn food. I mean, reality. I would never want to go to Hollywood. I never did. I never wanted to go to Disney. Look at Disney. I always knew something was wrong with that place. And a lot of children have come up missing from Disney. And now they finally arrested them. But that happened when Trump was in office at first. He had shut down a lot of that stuff. And then time he got back in office, all that stuff started resurfacing. Just like Tanika Jenkins. When Tanika Jenkins got killed, it was a lot went on with that. I don't know her, but when I tell you I was following that case, and there was a lot of things happened during that case. And now Trump, that case, people talking about it all over the internet again. And I had already said, yeah, they should. Everything that had shut down for the last 4 years long, when Kamala and Joe, I don't know who was running this. I think it was Obama and Michael. I think it was them two running everything. I really don't think that Joe Biden even, no, I really don't. They had too many skin suits. They had too many people walking around with their neck looking stupid. Like we stupid. You know what I'm saying? And there wasn't enough people talking about it. It still ain't enough people talking about shit they should be talking about. Everybody talking about, do you think he gonna do it? Do you think he gonna do it? Sound like some damn slaves. I mean, I'm like, what the hell? What you gonna do? That's the reality of this thing. What are you gonna do? You're supposed to have some power here. You ain't got none because you ain't doing nothing but running your mouth on the internet. Let's do something. That's what I say. What's the moral of your story here? Really? What's the solution? Can we decide that, I know it ain't but 4 of us, but can we get on a Zoom call in private and come up with some solutions for our town, for our city, or where we're at? Because I'm not waiting on any one of them crackers who he is putting in that up there in the White House to do nothing for me without me making them. So, with that being said, I'm going to stop that right here. And all y'all got that. It ain't but 3 of y'all in here. All y'all got that link to the, what is it? To the White Man Bob. I was going to go into it, but I'm going to let y'all go for the day. I done did all I wanted to do. Y'all know where the White Man Bob is, and y'all know this man just showed us everything about the white man, the Jew man, the nigger man, and he showed us about the Indian. So, y'all already know. My crew, y'all, just my little crew right here, y'all already know. So listen, I'm going to say good afternoon, good evening to y'all, and y'all go and have a great one. Okay, I'm going to, let's see, I might even play my little song going out. That's the best thing I got going on. Shout out to all them that's in Atlanta on the territory. Have a good time, y'all. Please be safe. Please be safe. Let's see what they're talking about over here. They at the Atlanta.
And when you go, they cannot never own this land, ever.
This is the weirdest shit these days. You see Hindus, you see Somalians, African Ghanaians, Chinese, Japanese out in the street whooping for Donald Trump. I hate Kamala Harris. Can he speak language?
Because they know where they come from.
You know, like they vote gonna count.
Oh, sweet wine.
They got it fucked up here because they got these people thinking that they are Americans. I know.
Well, yeah, that's my one and only issue. That's my one and only issue. There is a stipulation that I do have. They need to understand that they are American citizens of the United States of America. It's a difference between what happened is they have convoluted what an American is, and they think that just because you're a citizen here, and low key, if you listen to some of these people in government, they will say Americans and they will say citizens of the United States or United States citizens. And they will say, and then they will say Americans in certain situations, because there is a difference. And the thing about it is, some of these white people think they're Americans. But if you go back, like, okay, I've been listening to the Preacher Holiday for a very long time.
I was trying to find my song. I thought they were going to be talking about Atlanta. So that's sweet wine right now. She back. Oh, boy. Yeah, y'all. Have fun. Let's see. What I was looking for the song. Oh, I gotta go this way. Shout out to the two that's still up in here with me. I'll play this song and get out of here, y'all.
Shout out to the Mama Chief. Yeah, you be quiet when Big Mama speak. What she gave us is a part of me. It flows through my arteries. Even on that journey, that love grows how the garden be. The first to teach us when we sick, the first to heal us. Mama's boy, yeah, you know, I'm pride and joy. Soul food, yeah, you know, I'm an enjoy. Calm you down, just by the sound of a voice. There isn't another feeling inside. When they cheer you on at your game, and you feeling the pride. You and your siblings fighting, she gon' make you put the feelings aside. She can lead you down the road, but she can give you the guide. Why you think I get that blissful look in my eyes? I need a side of ice cream and them eyes that fly. You know for sure for Mama Chief, you know I'm a ride. Cause we all need a Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all love a Mama Chiefs. The greatness, the patience, the foundation, the knowledge passed down so many generations. Our motivation, I just wanna thank you for my creation. Cause we all love a Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all need a Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all rap for Mama Chief. The dedication, I see your tears at my graduation. Now look for the boy that made it. You the reason I'm one of the greatest. Yeah, cause we all
Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good evening now.
We all love the Mama Chiefs. Yeah, we all rap for Mama Chief. Now be quiet, let Big Mama speak.